Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. I create an angel civilization in Marvel. Chapter 91. And as the big hole exploded, Banner fell directly to the negative floor next to the experiment. Banner, Tony yelled when he saw it. After saying that he wanted to watch Captain America, will he get bigger? Captain America thought for a while and shook his head. I don't know. Then I'd better put on the armor first, Tony said and ran to the armor. And Banner, who fell to the negative level at the moment, was actually not furious. He patted the ashes on his body, then got up. I looked at the surrounding scenes. Banner sniffed fiercely, then walked in Loki's direction. No matter so, the culprit of all this must be Loki. So there must be nothing wrong with finding Loki now, said Banner and walked away. He shook his neck as he walked. Then move your wrists. At the moment Loki in the green tin laughed when he heard the explosion. But he couldn't hear Hulk's roar for a long time. This makes him feel a little strange. Such a big movement and excitement. Can Banner become Hulk? However, with the disruption of the aerospace carrier, Luo Hua also wandered around in the Sky City to watch the show. Anyway, it's really time to remake the movie. But it's a bit different from the previous ones. For example, Hulk is the one with the biggest difference. Hulk now can control his temper very well. Now he fell from above because of the explosion and he was not even angry. Instead, he was calm and went directly to Loki. Then Loki will inevitably have to fight. But, a few minutes later, the plot has changed. Phil Coulson, who was supposed to die, is fine because of Hulk's arrival. And Thor, who would have been tricked into a green can by Loki, is now Hulk. It's the same trick, only the one who rushed in became Banner. Because Banner was too anxious to beat Loki, he was tricked into entering. Bye. Loki waved to Banner. Roar. In an instant, Banner turned into Hulk and raised his fist to hammer the shield. Loki's face changed. He immediately pressed the release button. Ha! After the sound, Hulk successfully fell. Roar. Loki gasped in relief. If Hulk rushed out, he would be finished. Then, Loki looked at Phil Coulson on the side. He just got ready to do it. At the moment there is already an agent to support it. Loki's face changed. Immediately chose to escape. He can't fight now, because Dr. Eric is about to build a portal in the Stark building. So his goal now is to leave immediately. The screen turns back. At the moment Luo Hua was basking in the warm noon sun on the deck chairs in the courtyard. And for the time being, only one of the three reclining chairs next to him was lying down. That is Liangbing. Currently, Keisha and Hexy are still talking about things at the pavilion. Pillow your hands behind your head. Luo Hua narrowed his eyes. Then he glanced at the cold ice who was lying on the recliner on his side and kept looking at himself. Are you basking in the sun or looking at me? Look at you, Liang Bing admitted directly. Luo Hua slowly opened his eyes. Then he glared at Liang Bing. Then Luo Hua gently bit his lower lip with his upper teeth. Really? In response, Liang Bing turned back and lay down facing the sun. Because that was what Luo Hua did to her last time. If it weren't for the day, Hexy and the others would come. Luo Hua can make her limp back. Wait until Liangbing lie down. Luo Hua watched the sun shining on his skin to form a crystal clear ice. Perceivedly, Liang Bing turned his head and asked, "White, right?" Luo Hua nodded, then shook his head. Then he turned to look at Hexy's legs. No Hexabai, Liangbing. The moment Luo Hua said this sentence, the corner of Hexy's mouth, who was talking to Keisha at the pavilion over there, showed an unconcealable smile. It turned out that even if they were talking, the ears are also placed here to listen. Keisha looked at Hexy who was still talking to herself just now and turned into this Hexy. She couldn't help but nodded Hexy's head with her finger. Can you care about me? Hexy rubbed his head. Isn't that talking to you? Keisha sighed. Straight in his heart, Roar prefers colors to friends. All the attention is here on Luo Hua. Can you talk to yourself? At most it can be considered as one mind and two purposes. In fact, no one knows that Kesha is the same. They are half a cat. Continue to bask in the warm sun. After drying for a while. Oh, Luo Hua lay on the recliner and hit Heish. He is sleepy from the sun. But it's not okay to sleep now. You can watch the movie soon. Luo Hua turned to look at Harmonton in New York City. At the moment Eric has installed the Tesseract Exciter on the roof of the Stark building. In other words, the Kitari army is coming soon. How can you sleep then? But what should I do if I am lazy now? Luo Hua turned his head to look at Liang Bing. Liang Bing felt Luo Hua look at himself, so he turned his head and looked at each other. Luo Hua looked at her. Then he stretched out his elbow and placed it on the armrest. Liang Bing looked blank. What do you want, Wang? Food. The cold ice gestured something to eat. Luo Hua shook his head. Then Liang Bing thought about it again, slowly trying to stretch out his hand. But I didn't expect Luo Hua to have no objection. Immediately, Liang Bing put his hand on Luo Hua's palm. Then she saw Luo Hua turn her head back. But his hands were rubbing Ni's hands. That's right, Luo Hua is boring. Then I want to find something to pinch. But what is more fun than Angel's hand? And isn't there a ready-made one around? Rubbing his hands with cold ice. Luo Hua's mind, squinting his eyes, felt a little more energetic. It's better to move your hands now than to lazily stay still. And Liangbing, her expression seemed to be pressed on the soles of her feet. Every time Luo Hua's fingers intersect with her expression changes. People who didn't know thought that the hand was her inscription part. At this time, Liangbing, Kesha and Hexi looked at Luo Hua at the same time. Do not, actually looking in Luo Hua's direction. This is where the Stark building is located. Duo Wang. At the same time, a muffled sound of huge amounts of spread throughout New York. It turns out that Eric has started Tesseract. But Angel's spatiotemporal detection technology is faster. Therefore, the instability of time and space was discovered before Tesseract was officially launched. But this is not the main thing. A second ago, Keisha and Hexi were still looking at the direction of the Stark building next to Luo Hua. But in the next second they looked at Luo Hua's right hand together. Precisely, it is Luo Hua's right hand and Liang Bing's left hand. They focused their attention on the hand held by Luo Hua. At the moment Luo Hua turned his head slightly and looked towards the Stark building. After Liang Bing noticed their gaze, he turned his head and blinked. Then he pretended to be innocent and turned back. This is not my initiative, is it? It was the king who wanted to hold my hand. What can you do with me? Hey, this is what Liang Bing is thinking now. Patter, patter, patter. At the moment, there were also two footsteps outside the courtyard. It was Aylin and Kayla who came. They came to the door, then bowed to Luo Hua before walking in. Wang, the portal is open, when will we be dispatched? With eyes closed, Luo Hua heard what Aylin and Kayla said. He let go of Liang Bing's hand and sat up. Stretched and hit Heish. Don't say squeezing Liang Bing's hand is really refreshing. Turning to look at the portal in the center of New York. Luo Hua only lamented how miserable New York was. The streets where the destroyer rioted last time have not been repaired yet. And it can only be considered repaired a little. The result is now to be destroyed again, and even more ruthless. All in all, New York is not getting better. After they have a disgusting fat bug coming out, you can go out. Fat bugs. Aylin and Kayla remembered the fat bugs. Then I walked to the pavilion and sat down and waited. Then Luo Hua lay down and thought for a while. Then he added again, wait until the Zeta Swiss soldiers dispatched by New York City are eliminated. You remember not to close the portal immediately, remember to communicate with me. Their portals also have large warships deep in the universe. Remember to keep that thing, you can go to the universe to exchange for something ready-made. Yes, Kayla and Aylin nodded. Apart from other things, the battleship of Chidori is still worth a little bit. The value of money here does not mean that it is valuable to Angel Civilization. It is valuable to other civilizations in the universe. When the time comes, you can take this to exchange for some ready-made metal resources and so on. This can be regarded as expressing a meaning to the universe. That is, Chidori is just rubbish. Next, as the portal was slowly opened. After a while, the overwhelming Kitar army came out of the portal. They go from top to bottom. Crazy passing by the Stark building. Then when it is close to the ground, countless flight machines directly began to bombard constantly. Boom, 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 boom. For an instant, the deceived citizens finally knew what they were here for. This is an alien invasion. Cry, scream, scream. The whole of New York was caught in such an environment. The sound of bombing, explosions, screams. At the moment the whole scene was messed up. Even the red and yellow armor that flew out of the building just now at the moment was chased and beaten by an endless army of Zedaru. If he dares to stop for a second, then there will be dozens of bombings in his face. The whole of New York is in chaos. There were explosions all over the center of Manhattan. Burning car, overturned highway, damaged building, screaming crowd. Tragedy is happening everywhere. But Chidori will not stop. On the contrary, they became even more profitable. Because all these mentioned above are their more exciting flavoring agent. As if to shout for their ravages. At this time, a flight machine is long overdue. They are the late Hawkeye, Natasha Romanoff and Captain America. But looking at the whole sky of Kitarui army, they couldn't help but give birth to despair. How can this destroy so many troops? Hawkeye has dozens of arrows. Natasha Romanoff has dozens of bullets. Captain America sometimes runs out of energy. Tony also had a day when his armor was broken and his energy was exhausted. And most importantly, even if they sold their lives, they couldn't clean up these aliens. So, how do they desperately? Captain America looked at the flight machine flying overhead. He frowned and said, "Let's go to the most critical place under the Stark building to block. This will eliminate them as much as possible." But Natasha Romanoff looked at the portal in the sky. "How many are there, do we know?" "I don't know," Hawkeye seldom answered outright. Then, he bounced the bow and arrow away. "Then take out the arrow on the back and hit it up and add. But maybe this is our last mission. Implications. They will all die here, and they can't shrink back. There is no way. The first problem they have to solve is the current problem." Hawkeye raised his head. "Choose a building. I'll find a commanding height to help you watch. You go to the main road." Natasha Romanoff and Captain America nodded. "Run from the side of the viaduct," thinking of the Stark building. Along the way, even if there are many Zeta Swiss soldiers stepped forward to block. But they were all killed with difficulty. But, looking at the more and more army around, Captain America and Natasha Romanoff were also helpless. There is no group attack. The number of enemies is still so huge. What the hell is this to do? Tony was entangled in a bunch of flight machines and couldn't get away. There will only be more and more soldiers in this way. Roar. Sudden, an angry roar came from a distance. I saw a big green man constantly jumping between the buildings. It's Hulk. There was joy in Natasha Romanoff's heart. If Hulk joins in, then they can relax too much. Along the way, Hulk smashed from this building to that building. A leap in the air is to smash a few flight machines. For a time, only Hulk has a significant effect. But, even if Hulk destroyed so much, but for the overwhelming Kitarian army, it's just a small part of it. Not even 1,000th, not 1,000th. But for the uplifting effect, it does help a bit. At the moment Thor is also fighting with Loki. He drew Loki out with a hammer and cursed. "Do you know where you started the war? This is the Earth. This is Midgard. This is where Angel Civilization is currently worn here. They are nearby. Why do you want to do this?" Luo Hua got up with the scepter. "Don't you like fighting? Why are you afraid now? How many Zeta Swiss soldiers can one angel kill? Do you know how many soldiers they have?" Boom. The sound of bombing came from nearby. Thor glanced, and the damage continued to grow. The portal above the head is getting bigger and bigger. What's more and more soldiers are pouring out. Must fight quickly. Thor squeezed the hammer and rushed forward again. Naturally, Loki wouldn't go head to head with him. Dodge for a while. Loki looked at his brother, taunted. "What if Angel came this time? Can they deal with so many soldiers? Every day you say they are amazing, why can't I see anything?" Thor's attack was avoided. His atmosphere began to summon lightning to attack Thor. "You know nothing. If you don't know the facts until you see it, then it's too late. It's useless to regret it. I will let you know at last. Hurry up and close the portal." Thor held up Mjolnir, who was shining with thunder and lightning. If Loki is unwilling to close, then Thor will stun him directly. But Loki, who was standing at the top of the building, smiled. There was a confident smile at the corner of his mouth. "Facts will tell us the answer." Finished. He fell backwards. "Just fall down." Thor hurried to check, but what I saw was Loki leaving on the flight. He was sitting in the back seat of the flight, laughing and shouting to Thor. I am the king, ha 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 ha. Thor squeezed his hammer angrily. He was almost out of the mask of pain. However, even if he puts out the pain mask, it's useless. Boom, 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 boom. There were explosions everywhere. There were crying and crying everywhere. Thor couldn't even imagine how crazy he would be at the moment if it were in Asgard. But this is the Earth. He still started to become a little impatient. In the end, how to do? At the moment, near the Stark building, in a church that hadn't been bought for a long time without raising funds, a group of people who were praying was surrounded by Kitar's army. They pointed at dozens of people here with half-energy weapons with thin barrels. There are men, old people, women, and children. But there is only one reason why they are together at the moment. That is to pray Angel. Because this is Angel's church. The church here was also bought by everyone. This is precisely because they need a place to gather. Today they came to pray Angel as usual. But I didn't expect it. Suddenly there was an explosion outside. It didn't take long for them to be blocked by these aliens, and they were pointed at by weapons. Fortunately, they did not shoot. It is to gather people here. Now they are shrinking in a corner. Some people closed their eyes and kept repeating the word angel in their hearts. As if in a crisis. Only these two words can give her psychological comfort. But while constantly reading these two words, she accidentally said a little voice. It seemed to be a resurgence. The people around immediately started to recite. A person may be silent, but when dozens of people read it together, it becomes a sincere and majestic warning. The surrounding Zeta Swiss soldiers were taken aback. They raised their weapons at them one after another. Roar. Sudden. There was a roar that wasn't Hulk. This time, the Zeta Swiss soldiers turned their heads to look. It turned out that their war behemoth appeared on the field. Roar. All the Zeta Swiss soldiers began to follow Roar. They happily roar, the real war has begun. As long as the behemoth starts to drop soldiers, you will have countless soldier units that will land. Until then, both land and air will be occupied by them. The scene will fall directly. Looking back, the Zeta Swiss soldiers held their weapons again, pointed to the crowd again, and this time, they slowly want to pull the trigger. But the voice of Angel in the crowd grew louder and louder. They saw the enemy pulling the trigger. Immediately, he rushed up with a loud roar of blessings. But it is obvious, if Zeta Swiss pulls the trigger, they must die. At the same time, Luo Hua, who had watched all this in the Sky City, waved with one hand. Let them go first. Yes, Aelin nodded with Kayla. They put on silver masks. Then as soon as the wings opened, they disappeared in an instant. Only the golden light that hasn't dissipated in place is left. This is the mobility of wings of time. Wang, pissed. At the moment when the crowd rushed up and Cheetar was about to pull the trigger, suddenly a few golden arcs waved in from the outside of the church. Then followed, it was the soldiers of Kitari who were cut into two copies. Their upper body slowly fell diagonally to the ground. Then he died like this. The crowd who rushed up took a halt. Through the tiny gap, they vaguely saw that it was Angel. Plop, thump 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 thump. All of a sudden, from the first kneeling sound, immediately, one after another came from kneeling on the ground one after another. After a while, dozens of people in the entire church knelt down. At the moment Kayla and Aelin in the sky outside the church looked at each other. They nodded together. Fly to the sky above the Stark building in an instant. Aelin Vibranium flicked his sword. A golden arc of 1 to several meters long flew to the portal door opened by Space Gem instantly. Boom. Then there was an explosion of huge amounts of energy fluctuations directly expanded to hundreds of meters in diameter. If it is not to prevent the crowd from blowing to the ground, Aelin and Kayla can now hit bombs with an explosion diameter of hundreds of meters. And this time bombing directly drop Yuan constantly. Kitarui's army blasted out the gap period. My God, at the moment huge amounts of sound made Natasha Romanoff, Captain America, Hawkeye and Tony all see the explosion. The huge amounts of golden energy swallowed all the Kitari army near the portal. All the bones are gone. They all stood there in shock. They didn't react until the Zeta Swiss rushed up. At the moment aerospace carrier injury. All agents including Fury, Hill and Phil Coulson opened their mouths to watch the broadcast on the monitor. The bombing with a diameter of 100 meters was actually just waved by Angel. And this time, 2 angels were dispatched at once. Then this, isn't it stable? At this time, suddenly a call came to Fury's headset. After Fury is connected, after a while, he shouted directly. What? You are also dropping nuclear bombs. Didn't you see that Angel has appeared on the stage? Are you crazy? Zayat, 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 Zayat. Following Fury's cursing, Fury, who hung up, threw the headset directly to the ground. This is the first time in his long life that he has made such a big fire. He roared directly. Is it all difficult to eat shit? Didn't you see that Angel is already on the stage? Stumped, can't you control it? The president clearly wants to do Angel together. Director Fury, without waiting for Fury to say this. Hill next to him directly interrupted Fury, who was still in rage. Hill took Fury's arm. Use your eyes to show the surrounding agents. Fury reacted. Yes, there is also an eyeliner inserted by the government. And even they don't know, and there is no way to completely control it. So some things can't be said nonsense. There will be problems. But Fury was so angry that he still slammed the hammer on the table. He really can't stand this anger. Obviously Angel has gone. But it wants to drop a nuclear bomb. Are they trying to solve aliens? They clearly want to solve Angel together. They saw that the civilization of Angel gradually took control of the United States people. That's why they want to destroy Angel like this. But is it necessary? People simply look down on themselves. The above also pretended to think that Angel would threaten their authority. What a threat to you. Thus, I see what will happen to it after the end of this war. Wait, then, gas to gas. Fury is also gloating now. Do the above. Angel will not let them go. They just wait for it to be done. ... The screen returns to the Tesseract area of Harmonton. At the moment Alan and Kayla had just thrown out another bombing. So the Zetaru army who just wanted to rush forward to replenish were blown out of a gap again. The 2 angel guards here are a bit wasteful. So Alan looked at Kayla's mask and said, Kayla, I'll leave it to you here. I'll get rid of the behemoths and the soldiers in the city. Well, don't worry, leave it to me here. Kayla nodded. Thanks for your hard work. Nothing. Finished. Alan's wings shook, disappeared here in an instant. Then, following a long trajectory of flying across the air, a giant beast over New York City directly uttered a terrible cry. Roar. When he was still randomly ramming between the buildings just now, he was instantly crossed by a golden trajectory. Then there was a cutting mark several meters long from the top of its head. This is the flame cutting used by Alan. It is different from the attack method Luo Hua had originally thought. The flame series attack invented by Keisha is very different from the original one. Why do you say that? The original attack must first have a flame class weapon, the Sword of Flame. Then use the Sword of Flame to absorb the energy radiated by Perseverance to assist the Sword of Flame attack ability. So strictly speaking, the flame cutting and bombing of the flame sword requires not only energy absorbing, but also energy input. So the whole process is very slow. And it can't be faster. If you want to attack, hurry up. Then the attack power will be reduced a lot. Finally, such a comparison. In fact, the flame attack series developed by Kesha this time is much stronger than before. Boom. With the fall of a giant beast, a cloud of dust instantly rose on the ground on the streets of New York City. This huge behemoth of hundreds of tons smashed down all at once. The effect is no less than the collapse of a building. Looking at the dust, I will be confused. Alan waved his wings. In an instant, the surrounding dust was washed away. Kitari's army saw their war beasts killed. They all opened the masks on their faces and yelled at Alan. Throat. Ah. Alan snorted disdainfully. What's the use of the roar of trash fish? Are you stumped to defeat yourself by these sounds? Randomly swing the vibranium longsword several times in a row. At the flight speed cut by flames, another 10 or so Zeta Swiss soldiers died in an instant. Alan said this is meaningless. So the shaking wings flew up to the sky and began to overlook the city. 1.2.3.4.5 There are 5 behemoths of war. Boom. At this time, there was another explosion in the distance. Alan looked over. It turned out that Kayla also started bombing the vacuum zone. Now as long as there is a legion rushing up or appearing in Kayla's line of sight, she would just throw it out for a flame bombardment. Good job, Kayla, Aelin complimented him. Alan, are you teasing me? Kayla smiled and replied, you still have to praise me for such a simple thing. I think you did it on purpose. Where? Aelin evaded. Well, let's not talk about it, I'll go and fix those big bugs as well. Then we can be the king of communications. When Kayla heard about the king's affairs, it was obvious that the nature became higher. Then, Aelin directly activated the wings of time and space. Then instantly appeared above the head of the war behemoth. She has a long sword. A burst of golden energy instantly converged on her sword. This total gathering time didn't even last for a second. Then Aelin waved it out. Pooh, screamed. There was no sound of the war beasts coming and wailing. It just returned to the sky and dropped the soldier's body. Then a head with a diameter of 3 to 5 meters fell directly without observing the command. Bang! With the fall of the head, its remaining body also directly and slowly hit the ground. Boom! If at the moment looks towards the incision, you can see it. The severed position of this war behemoth is extremely smooth. Both the metal and the bones inside are completely separated. I don't know, I thought it was scanned by a laser. And it must be an ultra-high energy laser. The second. There are 4 left. Aelin flapped his wings and flew to the sky again. Directly aimed at the next behemoth of war. Wings of time and space. With a golden light suddenly appeared. Aelin's figure disappeared instantly. Then she appeared again on the head of the giant beast. Flame cutting. Pooh. There was another sound that crossed in an instant. Another huge amounts of head dropped. Another huge body died. This is the third one. There are 3 left. Continue to fly to the sky. Aelin looked at the behemoth of war in the distance. If it weren't for the fear that the buildings and people on the ground would be damaged by excessive force. From here, Aelin could directly slam it through a blaze, cutting and slash it. But the mansions behind the corresponding war beasts and the humans will also be beheaded. So it can only be solved one by one. Boom! Another explosion sounded from huge amounts of. The sky exudes bright golden light and shadow again. It turned out to be Kayla throwing another flame bomb. Under the Stark building at the moment, Captain America and Natasha Romanoff looked at the peerless figure in the sky in shock. The same as female, they're as peerless and independent. And he was full of dust and panting. The clothes on her now are a lot torn, and there is still a lot of dust sticking to it. And those 2 angels like goddess of war. Armor of silver gold wire. A splendid long sword, long blonde hair, luxurious mask. White and slender legs under metal boots. What beauty is there that they don't have? They have occupied all the beauty. Natasha Romanoff feels inferiority complex whenever he sees them. Because they are perfect, and he is defective. Looking back at Captain America now, he also gasped with a smile, it seems we can relax a lot. Natasha Romanoff glanced at him and nodded. Then she added, but we still have to find a way. If the door in the sky is not closed, they will come in constantly. Who knows how many of these soldiers are there? Captain America looked at the surrounding environment. Then asked, what do you want to do? Natasha Romanoff looks at the emission source on the roof of the Stark building. Go up and have a look, the problem must be there. ... Then Tony sighed. He was entangled in a lot of flight machines and couldn't get away. And finding a chance to counterattack can only destroy a few flight machines. This is a drop in the bucket for the army of flight machines behind him. But as the golden energy light wave lit up behind him, Tony also vomited to JARVIS in the armor. I will also have a large-scale destructive weapon at that time. JARVIS. Actually, this is not allowed. Large weapons are piled up by equivalent, and the inventory of battle armor does not meet the conditions at all. Unless you can research more effective and intense explosive elements. Alas, Tony sighed in the armor. Compared to battle armor, he can now see the difference between his own strength and the external strength. This is too far. At this time, after Hulk saw Angel, he instantly jumped towards Angel regardless of anything. But Aelin's only speed is too fast. Wait until Aelin destroys the 3rd behemoth of war. Banner just jumped under the feet of the building where Aelin was. Aelin looked down. It's Hulk again. She thought about it. and pointed at Hulk with her sword. Then he pointed his sword at the scattered fishways on the ground and on the wall in the distance. Go ahead and clean up those salted fish and rotten shrimp. Hulk heard something to do. He immediately yelled. Directly and frantically, he rushed towards the Zeta Swiss soldier in the distance. Roar, 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 with one after another roar came. Hulk was chasing the trash fish frantically. Aylin's sword is put away. Look at the second behemoth of war and prepare to solve it. But the next moment, she suddenly turned her head to look in the direction of the sea. At the same time, a feeling of anger welled up in her heart. Because the nuclear bomb is coming. Watching the nuclear bomb galloping from the sea, Aylin complained to Luo Hua in the communication channel. Wang, the government of this country is too hateful. They are here to clean up the invading army. Unexpectedly, the government dropped a nuclear bomb directly. Currently Aylin and Kayla are the second-generation angel's body. Therefore, it is not possible to carry a nuclear bomb hard for the time being. Although they have a solution and it is simple, this is not the problem. What is the reason why Aylin is angry? She is angry and definitely is the ingratitude of the upper echelons of the United States government. Wang, they are really too much. At this time, Kayla also said in the channel. In the city of the sky. Luo Hua listened to the voices of Aylin and Kyla who were still aggrieved. He couldn't help getting a little angry. Whoever bullies anyone is good. But no one can bully my angel. Relax, no one can bully my angel. He said this in a terrifying tone. Luo Hua got up from the recliner. At the moment, Kesha, Liang Bing, and Hexial felt a little stubborn behind him. And just look at Luo Hua's unwavering back. Their hearts at the moment were all beating wildly uncontrollably. The three women looked at each other. All obediently remained silent. Click, click. Luo Hua took a few steps forward. Open eye of insight. His right palm is aimed at the flight nuclear bomb. Cast transport magic. Locate the direction of the nuclear bomb. Transfer time and space path. Then Luo Hua pointed in a certain direction. Target. White Palace. Limited explosion area. Radius, 5 kilometers. Closing curly bracket. After doing these, Luo Hua returned to the recliner and lay flat. And faintly replied in the communication channel. Okay, you continue to perform the task. Kayla, Aylin, yeah. At the same time, Tony at the moment just received an urgent notice from Fury. Stark, a nuclear bomb has passed towards you. What? Tony was surprised. What's the situation? Isn't Angel already here? I can't explain this, Fury said anxiously. Do you have a solution? Be silent for a while. Tony replied again. I will try it. But what I did not expect is, Tony had just positioned the nuclear bomb. The nuclear bomb suddenly disappeared again. JARVIS. Sir, the science can't explain it. Original. While the nuclear bomb was still flying fast, a portal suddenly appeared in its flight path. This portal forms a vertical angle to the ground. Ding. So this nuclear bomb is gone while flying. But in another part of the country, a portal opened parallel to the ground, too. So accordingly, this baby flew out directly. Boom. Boom. The explosion sounded from the sky. The dazzling white light covered the entire United States. However, apart from the White Palace, the outside world is nothing at all. Don't worry about the aftermath. Don't worry about the light, let alone worry about other things. Because in addition to the original explosion, everything else is fine. After all, the innocent can't be hurt. At the moment the city of the sky. Luo Hua turned over while listening to the explosion that could be heard at an altitude of 10,000 meters. And New York at the moment. Aylin shook his wings and hovered in the air. She looked at the dazzling white light that suddenly appeared in the distance and said helplessly. Why does your baby shoot at yourself, so careless? Okay, Aylin, don't be mean. Kayla said in the communication channel. That's Wang Chong drowning us. By the way, your grievances and complaints have been resolved. Quickly settle the matter, and then wait for the king to come. Who is wronged? Aylin heard Kayla tell the truth. I was a little embarrassed right away. Although she was a bit wronged when she reported to Wang just now. After all, she was here to help, and the people even exploded with herself. Can this not be wronged? And once she communicated with Luo Hua, she was like finding a parent's child. For a while, the tone was so wrong that it could no longer be wrong. So Luo Hua was also very angry at the time. Wrong to my child. You are tired of life. Well, you are not wronged, you are not wronged. Kayla comforted Alan like a sister. Then I will continue to empty the portal. Boom. The voice just fell. Kayla threw another flame bombardment at the portal. And what about Alan? She glanced at the origin of the explosion that was still erupting with dazzling white light. Then go to solve the remaining 3 war behemoths. The screen turns back to Natasha Romanoff's side. Looking at the white light flashing very far away. Natasha Romanoff was shocked for a long time. She definitely knows what it means to win white light. At the same time, Captain America frowned at the white light and explosion sound there. He turned around, looking at Natasha Romanoff and asking, "Is that the explosion?" Natasha Romanoff nodded, "But I don't know why it is there." Captain America is confirmed. He immediately wanted to rescue the disaster area. But this time, a battle armor with many wounds stopped in front of them. Tony opened his mask and said, "You don't have to worry about there," through the web camera. The scope of the explosion is limited to within 5 kilometers of the origin, that is to say, there is nothing wrong with people outside. Moreover, the sound we heard here is the same as the dazzling white light on the scene. So for ordinary people, there is nothing there. Hear Tony's explanation. Both Captain America and Natasha Romanoff let out a sigh of relief. But then they still asked, "Why did it explode there?" Tony shrugged, spreading his hands. "To be honest, I don't know. I originally planned to carry the nuclear bomb to the other end of the portal. But suddenly it disappeared. Then it exploded there again, and I was also at a loss." "What's wrong?" Captain America and Natasha Romanoff shook their heads. They can't understand either. But then, it must be resolved first. Natasha Romanoff looked at Tony and said, "Thank you for sending me to the source. The problem must be there. If it is not closed, these soldiers will constantly invade. Even if Angel stays there, it won't last long." After listening to what Natasha Romanoff said, Tony and Captain America looked at each other. Then they successfully reached an idea. Captain America said to Natasha Romanoff sideways, "Don't you think Angel is waiting for something? One of them is blocking the door, the other is cleaning up, there must be some plan." Natasha Romanoff thought for a while. Still decided, "Then we also need to finish this thing immediately. At the very least, you have to keep a handful of preparations." Tony nodded when he heard it. "Well, I'll send you up. ... Next, look at Hulk. With the excitement of beating and smashing along the way. Hulk has already killed off this time, I don't know how many soldiers have been killed. There are also 100 or 200 Zeta Swiss soldiers. And he didn't know tiredness yet. He was actually getting more and more excited. Even the sky-blasting explosion and the dazzling white light did not interrupt his movements. It can be said, Hulk carried out Angel's order to the end. On the other hand, look at the aerospace aircraft carrier. By turning the screen, Fury also saw the nuclear bomb with an explosion range of only 5 kilometers. He opened his mouth wide. I didn't know what to say and write for a long time. At the same time Hill did. Passed over. The dazzling white light has lasted for a long time. At the same time she was surprised for a long time. Fury and Hill looked at each other. They also began to define the angel civilization in their hearts. This is not retribution what this is. Although Fury thought that the upper echelons of the United States would definitely have retribution. But he never thought that the retribution would be this. Gone. It's all gone. Nothing. Here is the word. Most of the positions above can be vacated. It's ugly. Fury is a little eager to try now. Why? Running for president. There is a shortage of people now. Since I can be the king of agents, the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. Then I can also try to run for president. The emphasis is on participation. The emphasis is on participation. I thought of this. Fury started to feel something wrong. The shocking thing that just exploded was directly forgotten by him. Why? Because they deserve it. Deserve it. And it's not wrong at all. The screen turns back to Angel's side. Aelin raised his sword. The flame cut with a wave. Another giant beast was destroyed here. The fourth head is solved again. Next, Aelin directly flashed the wings of time and space. Flame cutting. Fifth head. Then activate the wings of time and space. Flame cutting again. 6th. But within a few minutes, Aelin successively solved all the huge war beasts of flight in the sky. These behemoths really have no offensive power, but they will only do damage. And it will constantly send troops. At this time, suddenly several blue energy cannons fired at Aelin. It turned out to be those Zeta Swiss soldiers with flight devices. Aelin pointed at the sword. Bang, 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 bang. The muffled sound of several consecutive energy impacts sounded. All the attacks disappeared at the arc pointed by the point of the sword. But in fact, this is not disappearing. Instead, all the energy blows are diluted by the vibranium armor. If it is a powerful attack, then outsiders can still see the energy circle that wrapped Aelin's entire body at the time of the impact. But these attacks are too weak. Even the ripples splashed during the impact are not qualified. Then, look at the dozens of trash fish on these flight machines. Aelin suddenly remembered the abilities of these armors on them. Excitation energy, decompose surrounding metal molecules. Aelin smiled. Directly mobilize the energy in the body to flow into the armor. For an instant, the entire armor exudes a silver light. Then those Kitari army found out. The weapons, masks, and flight machines in their hands, including those metal elements in the body that instantly turned into water and diluted. At the same time, these Zeteric armies seemed to be missing because of something in the body. They all fell in an instant. Alan, who found this useful, immediately communicated with Kyla. Kayla, you quickly use vibranium armor's decomposing metal ability. These trash fish should have important metal components in their bodies, and they will die directly after they are decomposed. Really? Kayla exclaimed with joy. Immediately gave up the flame bombing that I just wanted to slap. Then she uses the function of vibranium armor, decomposing metal. All of a sudden, the Kitarui army that had been rushing out of the portal ceaselessly disappeared instantly like flowing water. As long as it is metal, whether it is a weapon or a flight machine, whether it's armor or body, as long as it rushes out of the portal, it will inevitably be decomposed by Kayla's ability. For an instant, the whole Stark building was like rain of dead bodies. Slap. Happiness. This is the sound of the falling body of the Zeta Swiss soldier. Boom, boom. This is the sound of the crash of the behemoth of war. At the moment Natasha Romanoff has been taken by Tony to the roof of the Stark building. She looked at the rain of corpses in the sky for a long time and could not slow down. Goddess, or god of war. The gap is too big. At this time, an old sober voice came. If you want to turn off this device, you must find the same element in the same phase to destroy it. I remember Loki's scepter as one of the insurances. Just plug in Loki's scepter and you can destroy this device. It turned out that Dr. Eric was awake. He was just talking about how to stop this device. Natasha Romanoff looked around. Where is Loki's scepter? At this time, Thor flew here too. Tony looked at Thor and explained, if you want to turn off this device, you have to use Loki's scepter. Thor's eyes stared. What are you waiting for? Let's find Loki. He is on one of the flight machines. Tony turned the mask off without saying a word. Go directly to Loki with Thor. And Natasha Romanoff just waited here. But, waiting for a while, she directly chose to look up at the sky holding Kayla's figure in a daze. The same as female. How can I be like the other party? I thought that maybe this was the only chance I could get so close to Angel. Natasha Romanoff saw no one around shouting directly at Kayla. Angel, how can I be you? To be honest, if this is placed in normal days, Natasha Romanoff thought it must be too embarrassing to be able to say this. If there are people around, she died directly socially. And at the moment Kayla in the sky, she definitely heard this sentence. Because all the Zeteru army is temporarily afraid of Kayla's metal decomposition and dare not enter. So they are all stacked on the opposite side of the door. Looked at the portal where no one came in. Kayla smiled. Gently waved his wings and came to the roof of the Stark building in an instant. I patted the ashes that didn't exist on my body. Kayla took advantage of her long legs and leaned against the fence. And this location, it is the position of Natasha Romanoff's waist. It's embarrassing. Natasha Romanoff looked at Angel who was only a few meters away from him. The hesitation hairstyle is different, and there are no pendant ears. So Natasha Romanoff asked, you are not Angel Allen, then may you be. Yeah, you still know Aelin. Kayla put on a mask and asked with interest, I'm Angel Kayla. You asked how to become as, right. Although what is said is correct. But Kira didn't have any doubts at all. Natasha Romanoff nodded seriously. Then compare. They have vibranium long sword and armor, with gorgeous wings on their back, wearing majestic armor, and a head of blonde hair fluttering in the breeze. Even the body shape and face are blocked. Natasha Romanoff also knew that the face hidden behind him was definitely a peerless face. And can appreciate and taste them. It is estimated that there is only their king. And what about yourself? Forget it, she didn't bother to say it herself. Because there is nothing to say. You are so perfect both in appearance and in reality. As a woman, I don't want to. Sudden, Kayla, who was leaning on the fence, suddenly flicked the vibranium longsword. Boom, an explosion suddenly appeared above Natasha Romanoff's head again. Original. It was the Kitari army who wanted to come in again. But it was bombed by Kayla with a sword and flames. Kira stood up, knowing she was a little slack. She opened her eyes of insight and looked at Natasha Romanoff. Then closed and walked past her. Don't think about the little girl, your soul is not good at all. Although your body defects can be dealt with to perfection after becoming an angel, strictly speaking, you were reborn in the form of angel. But the main thing is that there are too many people in the universe who are more qualified to be angel than you. Do you think you can occupy one of the few forefronts in the entire universe? Finished. Not assessing Natasha Romanoff's reaction. Kayla flew to the portal with a wave of his wings. She had thought that the Zetaru army would not come in just now. Unexpectedly, they overcome their fear and come in again. If this is being lazy by Aelin murmur. Not Kyla can die socially directly in front of the king. Kira couldn't stand it when thinking about that scene. If one day the king doesn't even have the mood to look directly at him. Kayla felt that she was better off than dead. Definitely. This is just the kind that angels think more about in their daily lives. After all, Aelin would think about nothing. The screen turned back to Aelin. After getting rid of the behemoths of war and discovering special attack methods. Aelin thought on a whim. I drove this ability and wandered around the city by myself, wouldn't all the Kitari army die? And with Aelin's flight speed, it only takes a few minutes for her to clear every place in the entire Hamilton battlefield. Just leave. Aelin launches ability decompose metal. Then she radiated silver light all over, like an elf traveling through the city. Definitely, Aelin is not in the streets and alleys flight. All she needs to do is to fly over the building. Because the ability range of decomposing metals is quite large. So, as long as people stop and watch the sky above the city, they can see it. A silver, elf, figure flicked a stream of light in the sky over Harmonton flight. What she said, all Kitari's army will die. Definitely. Because this ability is not very controllable. So the metal on some buildings was also decomposed together. But the problem is not big. After a few minutes, the citizens of Harmonton found out. The soldiers of Kitar's army are gone. Ooh. People who really cried found out. The surrounding Zeta Swiss soldiers died. Can't hear the shooting. There are no soldiers alive. There were only patches of corpses on the ground, as well as bumpy roads and burning cars. Everyone slowly walked out of the buildings and alleys. They gathered in droves. Some were timid looking at the situation outside. The soldier died, the gun was gone, the weapon was gone, and the flight machine was gone. Even the giant beast lay and died several times. What's wrong? It's Angel. It's Angel. Sudden. Someone shouted out in the crowd. Everyone reacted immediately. Yes, it's Angel who has been on the stage a long time ago. It was they themselves who didn't get it in the panic and fleeing. Thought of this. Some of them even slapped themselves. Why didn't this happen? Diaresis, look at that. Quote, sudden. Another person pointed to somewhere in the sky and shouted. Everyone looked where he pointed. It turned out he was referring to Kayla's direction. At the moment, Kayla was still blocking the door endlessly. So no monster on the other side of the portal was put in. The corpse rain that had fallen was also broken not long ago. People are not stupid. I almost understand what I sent. This gap in strength is irreparable. I said it before. Arrived in the second generation. Human sea tactics no longer exist in angel civilization. No matter how many people you have. As long as the energy of my angel is not exhausted, there can be no day of exhaustion. And angel's energy is taken from Luo Hua's side. So, unless angel is so tired that he can't get tired anymore. Otherwise, it is impossible to be piled up by the crowd tactics. Moreover, even if you are tired, you can't catch up. I'll go to rest for a while and come see you again, okay? So this is crushing. At the moment everyone saw Kayla. Start with the first person kneeling down. Suddenly everyone knelt down. Then, it seems to be spreading endlessly. From the first batch of kneeling, the whole Harmonton began to kneel down one after another. What kind of scene is this? People come to worship thousands of dynasties, this is the kneeling of countless people. Aelin at the moment has cleared all the Kitari army. She was suspended in the air. Seeing these sincere people on the ground clicked, I was very satisfied. Now it's right. Without your prayers, Angel would not come to save you. Definitely. Wang's tasks and interests are the most important. Aelin waved his wings and flew to Kayla. Kayla, all the Zetaru army in the city has been paid off, and we can be the king of communications. Kayla looked at the city on the soles of her feet. Except for the broken buildings and the bewildering gunpowder everywhere. The invading war has subsided. She nodded and agreed. Okay, I'll contact Wang. I'm coming. Aelin wanted to talk to Luo Hua. Let me come, Aelin, you are so tired. Kayla knew it was not easy to talk to Wang. What's so tiring about this? Aelin said indifferently. I'm coming. Sudden, just when they are discussing who is going to communicate. Loki, who is at the end of his life, has been caught by Thor and Tony. They took Loki's scepter to the roof of the Stark building. Natasha Romanoff took the scepter absently. She still didn't get over from Kayla's words. Then, deleted in the gaze of Thor, Tony, Hawkeye, Captain America. Natasha Romanoff took the Mind Scepter and pointed the tip at the Tesseract stimulator. Next moment, Natasha Romanoff was ready to destroy it. Clang, sudden, with a golden slash, the front end of the Mind Scepter was directly chopped off and fell to the ground. Who is it? You are allowed to do this. Everyone raised their heads. A peerless and majestic figure just covered their sun and looked at them. Because of the glare, all Stark's hairs stand. A powerful sense of oppression came head-on, as if being stared at by a super dangerous creature. Their hearts are beating wildly at the moment. Of all people, only Thor, who has a relatively strong body physique, was barely able to speak falteringly. Such as, if this is not closed, the transmission there, the portal will not be closed. Thor took 3 consecutive breaths before he finished speaking. And after speaking, he hurriedly sucked roar up again. I said I'm going to close it. Aelin's cold voice came. Who allowed you to decide without authorization? Angel in New York was saved, and Angel was also the one who beat the aliens. Then who allowed you to close the door at will? Then. The crowd was out of breath by Aelin's cold oppression. So the scene was quiet and terrible for a while. It's useless to look at this group of things. A group of people fooling around. Aelin didn't bother to say another word. Roll. When Aelin said the last word flatly, the people present immediately stumbled and left. Even Tony felt that this was not his own mansion. Because he just wants to leave now. After driving these people away, Aelin stepped forward and picked up the end where only the head of the scepter was left. That is the section with Mind Gem. Then, she secretly communicated with the king. Wang, the Zeta Swiss soldiers have been emptied, you can come. In the city of the sky. Luo Hua nodded while lying on the couch in the courtyard. It's coming in a while. After hanging up the dark communication, Luo Hua stood up from the recliner and stretched. Even the streamlined abdominal muscles almost leaked out. It's a pity that Angel has the eyesight of the 3 girls. It's just a bit short. Let's go. Luo Hua stepped to the door. King. At this moment, Hexie suddenly stopped him. Luo Hua looked back at her. Hexie added, Wang, your throne is actually a small flight machine. But it has no space-time function, defense function and attack ability. I think it is more suitable for at the moment to travel. You don't have to fly. What's the matter? Luo Hua called up the system. Then opened the function of the throne and looked at it. It turns out that it is really a flight device. Its whole is the entire circle of Luo Hua's throne. But it also includes those 2 pairs of huge amounts of Xuangi. After a few minutes, But when everyone in New York City looks into the air, they will find out. A handful, no, it's a huge amounts of sword flying in the air. During the flight, 3 angels followed this giant sword. They all wear masks, but the gap between hair and temperament is huge. This is Kesha, Liangbing and Hexi. Luo Hua folded his wings and sat on the throne. He crossed his legs and leaned his back against the long back of the throne. This flight device can be controlled by mind. But the most important thing is, when this flight is started, just like a huge sword drawn from the palace of the king. Can't hang up. Luo Hua originally felt that this throne was like sitting on the hilt of a sword. The results now look, it really is. This flight is a silver long sword as a whole. Because the throne was originally a big reason. So it is about 15 meters long. The sword is about 3 meters wide. On the whole, its throne is a handle and its wings are a grid. At the same time, Luo Hua's long thrown back is like a whole sword hilt. So the whole thing looks like a long sword flying in the air. Across an entire New York City. But when the kneeling people saw 3 angels and a huge amounts of flight machine, they were all shocked. What is this? There are 3 more angels. And there is definitely not an angel on the throne. That's 4. There were already 2. Now there are 4 more. What is this concept? Originally, those 2 angels could kill the Kitari civilization. Are these later angels stronger now? This. And that huge amounts of flight device. Is it definitely not a throne? At the same time, on Fury's aerospace carrier, Fury and Hill opened their eyes and opened their mouths again, and they were shocked. 6 angels. What's the situation? They thought there were only 3 angels. King Angel, Aelin, and Kayla are gone. But I didn't expect it. There are 3 angels who seem to be much better than Aelin and Kayla behind the King of Angel. What does this show? This shows that the combat power shown by Angel Aelin and Kayla is not the peak combat power of Angel Civilization at all. This shows that they still don't know the peak combat power of Angel Civilization. What Aelin and Kayla showed was only the tip of the iceberg. My God, Fury put his hands on his scalp for a long time, unable to take care of himself. This is too shocking. What does this show? Originally, he was still thinking about why Angel Aelin didn't close the portal. Now he thought about it a little. They left this gate now because they have further thoughts on the Zeteric civilization still there. Director Fury, what do we do? Hill looked at Fury and asked. The scene now shown on the scene. It is simply beyond their control. What else can I do? Fury gave her a strange look. Do you want me to prepare snacks for you? Implications. Just look at it. Isn't it okay to have a long experience? Don't wait until Angel finishes it. Save time, effort and worry. ... The screen turns back to Luo Hua's side. While flying slowly over the Stark building, Aelin took the front end of the Soul Scepter and flew up. She flew slowly in front of Luo Hua. Then, under the eyes of Keisha, Liangbing and Hexi, he held it to Luo Hua with respectful hands. Take the front end of the Mind Scepter. Luo Hua broke away the metal that was stuck with precious stones just like breaking a willow branch. Then take the gem. Luo Hua threw the remaining front end directly down the 100-meter high building. But for the time being, he still doesn't absorb it. Because there is still something to do. Luo Hua looked at Aelin and Kayla and whispered, Kayla, come back, thanks for your hard work, just look at the Rubik's Cube next time. Wong, it's not hard. Aelin and Kyla flew to Luo Hua's side and said quickly. Luo Hua nodded, put away the mind gem. Then, the Longsword throne turns as a whole. He flew directly towards the portal opened by the space gem. Watching the Longsword throne leave, Aelin and Kayla kept seeing the throne disappearing outside the portal before they looked away. Kayla immediately reached out to scratch Aelin and said, I finally understand why you let you guard the portal. It turns out that you can talk to Wong in an open and honest manner and then hand him Mind Gem personally. In this way, when the king uses Mind Gem in the future, he may think of you. Aelin, who was seen through by Kayla, quickly began to evade. That's something you didn't expect. Who told me to stay with Wong for so long to know these opportunities? I heard how Aelin had a good harvest. Kayla scratched her even more angrily. Aelin hurriedly evaded. Okay, it's still out there. I'll talk about it when I go back. Aelin said so. Kayla also remembered that she was outside. She put her hands away and waited for Aelin to give her a look. Then you wait so hard, I won't let you go when I go back, you actually lied to me this time not to take a share of the sisters. Aelin also knew that Lee's loss suddenly didn't know how to get back. In contrast, Luo Hua's sighed. After flying into the universe, Luo Hua found that within 50 meters of this flight, he could talk to Roar normally. It turns out that there is this function. But in the meanwhile, once I came to the universe, compared to the Earth, the Kitari army is waiting here. An army of at least hundreds of thousands. Thousands of war behemoths. Yeah, Luo Hua smiled when he saw this. It looks good, it turns out you have so many. Looking at Angel who suddenly came out of the portal. The Kitarui army quickly rebroadcast the video to the rear civilized base in real time. So what? They don't even know what Angel is. But the Kitari army was also blinded. Obviously only are offensive. Why do you guys come out? For a time, they all yelled out. But a pity, the universe is a vacuum. Luo Hua only saw them open their mouths, but did not hear any sound. It's like a dancer turned off BGM. It's funny. Hey, that's because they are making Luo Hua laugh. He decided to solve this problem decently and quickly. Flame bombing. Boom. Definitely. The words of this sound are also just meanings. Because Luo Hua, Kesha, Liangbing, and Hexi can only see the golden energy rays shining through the universe. But no sound can be heard. Because of vacuum hemp. But correspondingly, the range of this brightness and the explosion area are compared to Aelin. If you can see the extent to which Aelin can blow up a village in one go. Luo Hua's flame bombardment can destroy several provinces. Because he only needs to increase the explosion area. At the same time, the power set does not need to be constantly increased. In the case of the same power, Luo Hua set his at the moment attack range, that is, the explosion range increased. This is a control effect and amount of energy. Right. Although control is very important, quantity is the most important thing. The energy he output this time. It is countless times stronger than Aelin. Boom, 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 with a few more flame bombings. Now the universe opposite the portal is basically clean. Definitely. Except for the corpses and wreckage floating around. Luo Hua means to compare when the army is there. Is it much cleaner now? Then the next goal. It was the Kitari flagship that was huge to several tens of kilometers in the distance. If not for him, Luo Hua may have closed the Rubik's Cube portal directly. Wang, can you recycle it? Hexi asked from the side at this moment. Although the technological level of this flagship is not high, it is easy to analyze. But because it is tens of kilometers long, so it may be difficult to recycle. And if it is pushed back to the Earth, the file size of the portal opened by this space cube cannot pass at all. Just when they are thinking, Luo Hua nodded. It's very simple. Finished. He took out the mind gem that had just been put away again. Yes, when the three girls saw this, they suddenly remembered. Mind gem can increase mental and spiritual power. For the current angel, this will be an increase effect that is no less than a treasure trove of knowledge. Do not. It should be even stronger than the increase in the treasure house of knowledge. Strictly speaking, the treasure trove of knowledge is only a super calculation in the future, and it has not yet been loaded to a certain level. But the role of mind gem is readily available and significant. Take this blue gem. Luo Hua squeezed tightly with one hand and rubbed it. A puff of blue crystal powder floated away from Luo Hua's hand. A yellow gem officially appeared in Luo Hua's palm. This is mind gem. Absorb it. With this idea emerged. Luo Hua squeezed it tightly. Ding. Angel Civilization creation system successfully absorbed. Mind gem, while extremely enhancing the user's mind and spiritual power. It can also enter the hearts of all creatures. You can even change the target mind depending on the user's wishes. Note, the Stone of the Soul originally also contains huge amounts of energy. Then, in reality, the moment the gem disappeared directly after Luo Hua absorbed the gem, his soul and brain seemed to have been sublimated. Whether it is thoughts or ideas, whether it is the soul or the heart, a feeling of transcendence above mythology arises from within. You seem to have created a universe in your mind. It seems to put the entire universe into the brain. After a while, Luo Hua opened his eyes. Keisha, Hexi, and Liangbing looked at Luo Hua immediately. Feel their sight. Luo Hua turned her head and looked at them suspiciously. What's wrong? Wang, your eyes are so beautiful. Liangbing was the first to say it. Maybe she is more straightforward, and Luo Hua was even more frank with each other last time. Cough. Wang, your eyes are suddenly attractive. This is what Keisha said, and her statement is more realistic. Finally, Hexi looked at Luo Hua and thought for a while to add. Your eyes seem to have dazzling galaxies and the universe circulating in the world. As long as I see your eyes, I feel deeply attracted to it. Keisha, Liangbing, looking at the eyes of Keisha and Liangbing. Hexi was innocent and I blinked. I'm not wrong. What do you guys see me doing like that? Luo Hua smiled helplessly. Because Hexi's rhetoric was like a confession. If Luo Hua was a little boy. Maybe Hexi's statement is confusing. Even Keisha and Liangbing think that Mrs. Hexi. What a fairy, old fairy. Okay, look back at this matter slowly. After hearing what Luo Hua said, the three women immediately floated behind Luo Hua obediently. Then, Luo Hua looked at the Kitarui Civilization flagship that was dozens of years in front of him. There must be many commanders and soldiers of the Zetaru civilization. In other words, this battleship has to be cleaned up before it can be brought back. But the battleship is so big. It is unrealistic to clean up one by one. The use of weapons will also destroy the flagship body. So what should I do? I definitely use the mind gem I just got. Looking at the flagship body that is only a few kilometers away. Luo Hua slowly closed his eyes. Nearly an invisible energy radiated in an instant. Immediately after the coverage, the entire battleship was enveloped. Mind gem, mind control. For this group of Chidori, who have a weak mind, mind gem is too easy to control them. Mutual suicide. Following this idea of Luo Hua came out. When the three women behind him couldn't see inside. After a while, there is no living life inside the flagship. They opened their eyes of insight and took a look. Already solved. Then next, just brought the flagship back. And the only people using this ability are magic and technology. Approaching with the throne flight. This time. It is truly a comprehensive observation of one's own spoils. Strictly speaking, this flagship of Chidori is a bit like a crab. After all, it is the kind that spit out the left and right, and then dented in the middle. It is also a bit like a capital W. Then, under the gaze of the three women, Luo Hua is no longer leaning on the backrest. He sat up physically. Then stretched out his right hand to aim at the flagship. The control and regulation of the left hand micro-reduction. For an instant, a huge golden portal with a height of 1 or 2 kilometers appeared on the right side of the flagship. Then Luo Hua's left hand swiped slightly. The giant portal also moved in the direction Luo Hua drew. This is slowly swallowing the flagship. At the same time, a flagship about half the size of Sky City also slowly appeared below Sky City. But because of the dense white clouds, this flagship was directly covered up. I can't see it at all. ... After a few minutes, the tail of the flagship of the Kitari civilization was also swallowed. Luo Hua held out his right hand. The huge golden portal also closed. Take back your hands. Luo Hua leaned on the back of the throne again. He was sitting on either side with his legs separated boldly. Then half leaned there leisurely. Let's go back. The three women nodded. The throne flight machine turned slowly. Then flew towards the portal that came over. Back to Earth. The throne's flight machine hovered again on the roof of the Stark building. Use micro-wormhole technology and energy control technology. Luo Hua made one move with one hand, accompanied by click, scream. The energy shell excited by the universe was easily shattered by Luo Hua's energy. Then Tesseract flew into Luo Hua's hands. Because he absorbed Mind Gem. So the energy he used just now is the same phase element as the Space Gem. So it easily smashed its energy shell. Hold Tesseract in hand. Luo Hua rested lazily on the throne, looking at New York at the foot. Thick smoke billowed everywhere. The collapsed building and the bumpy road made it look dilapidated. The destroyer's Hamilton in New York had not been repaired. As a result, this caused it to be hit hard. Buildings, roads, cars, bridges, tree constructions, etc. Basically, there is no good one you can see here. But if Angel does not come, It's gone here long ago. At the moment, but the crowd in New York once again saw that Angel's throne was empty on Sunday. They knelt down again slowly. One and two. A group of two groups. One street after another, until it was close to the time when an entire city was kneeling down. Luo Hua waved with the idle left hand on the armrest. Let's go back. Yes. Then, under the eyes of tens of thousands of people, the flight of Angel's civilization throne slowly flew towards the sky of 10,000 meters. Until Angel disappeared, they only know who is the creature that rules the world. At the moment in the aerospace carrier. But Fury and Hill added an agent to watch the scene. They also couldn't recover for a long time. The shock that Angel showed this time was too great. And from beginning to end, they still don't know how good Angel is. Just like I said before, the exact strength of the enemy is unknown. All your ideas or whims will make the other person laugh. For example, the leader of the Kitari civilization said he would use soldiers to pile Angel to death. If this matter should be heard by Aelin and the others, I can't help but laugh out loud. Hill looked at Fury. What should we do next? Fury watched the scene in New York intently. Then he sighed for a long time. In addition to helping them repair New York, we can only pray that the next disaster will come later. Yes, weakness means nothing, and they can only be beaten passively. Otherwise, what else can be done? Could it be called Avengers? The three words, Avenger, have already explained their meaning. The picture returns to the palace of the king in the city of the sky. As the throne slowly landed, this entire long sword was slowly inserted into the foundation of the original throne. Wait until it has landed completely. The scene looked no different from before. The angels also slowly landed on the ground under the throne and stood still. Among them, Aelin and Kyla couldn't move their gods away the moment they saw Luo Hua's eyes. Hexy and Keisha smiled when they saw their expressions. Liang Bing waved at them. Hi, Aelin, Kayla, I'm back. Ah, after Liangbing's reminder, Aelin and Kayla woke up at once. They saw Keisha and Hexy smile, and the teasing look in Liangbing's eyes suddenly showed Luo Hua's reaction, and they didn't dare to look at it. Now if you look at the king, the look in Wang's eyes must be, I can't think about it, Aelin and Kayla stood there with their heads down. A faint blush appeared on their cheeks. It's like the kind of blood circulation after exercise. But the blood is indeed circulating, because their hearts were throbbing violently at the moment. That means not only shyness, but also surging heart. Luo Hua smiled and interrupted the teasing of the three women. Okay, let's talk about business and matters first. I can let you see enough in the yard. Because this time not only got 2 vital gems, and the energy harvested is terrifying. So Luo Hua, who was in a good mood, also made a joke. Suddenly, the 5 angel girls at his feet stood obediently. At the same time, I also look forward to things that will happen after I go back. Then, Luo Hua took out Tesseract. Hidden in this slab-sized Rubik's Cube is a space gem that the whole universe is crazy about. So, now the most important thing is, absorb the space gem. Luo Hua at the moment. He held Tesseract with one hand. Then apply light pressure, accompanied by the collapse of the Rubik's Cube. This blue Tesseract instantly turned into powder. And stayed. There is only one crystal blue sapphire. This is the space gem. Ding. Angel Civilization Creation System successfully absorbed. Space gem. It allows the user to teleport or move to any space originally and any existence, and it can also distort or reorder the space or even create a new space according to their own ideas. Note, it originally also contains endless energy. With the absorption of gems, Luo Hua has officially become the first person in the universe to have 2 infinite gems at the same time. But this time Luo Hua didn't change much after absorbing the gems. But ability has indeed strengthened a lot. For example, just teleporting the Kitari flagship. If you put it now, Luo Hua only needs to activate the power of gems, and he can teleport away this flagship casually. After absorbing the gems, Luo Hua looked at Hexy, who was descending from the throne. He snapped his fingers lightly. Slap. Then, a blue energy passed by Hexy's side like a phantom. Hexy, who was standing next to Luo Hua's right hand, is now standing on the left. A piece of Liang Bing's eyes. She looked at Hexi, who was opposite to her. He turned his head and looked to his side. Hexi is gone. Go to the opposite side. Wang, I haven't waited for Liang Bing to react. Hexi's complaint came over in a tone that didn't follow you. Ha ha ha, it's all right. Luo Hua waved his hand and said, I am also very curious about this ability. Unexpectedly, it doesn't need to calculate the atomic structure of the target body at all. It can be teleported directly by virtue of the opponent's willingness and strength. In other words, if the other party volunteers, Luo Hua can teleport him away at will. But if the other party is unwilling, it depends on the user's mental strength and the strength of being teleported. If the target is too weak, then it will be manipulated wantonly by Luo Hua. But if the goal is very strong, it depends on the strength of the competition. And the practical effect of Mind Gem is the same. Modifying the mind depends on the strength of both sides. Definitely, users who have Mind Gem originally have mental powers that would be terrifying. So, what does Luo Hua want to do now? It is definitely to transfer the Sky City to an absolutely safe space. Put down the arm supporting the chin. Luo Hua has also recovered enough from the lazy state. He stood up from the throne. Then even the wings were bought and summoned and just wanted to go forward. All the scared angels are ready to step forward to catch Luo Hua. To know, also speak before. Luo Hua's throne is a cylindrical platform with no steps to go up. In other words, Luo Hua's next foot will be straight away. But, what made all angels prepare to move forward was stiff. Luo Hua's right foot stepped firmly in the air. That's right. Step in the air. Then, under the gaze of all angel. As Luo Hua took his steps, each of his feet walked down like stairs. And it's all stepping in the air. Click, landed with the last footsteps. Luo Hua smiled and watched the reactions of the angels. To be honest, their actions made me very pleased. Every angel wants to rush up to catch himself. Seeing Luo Hua smile and look at herself, Hexi couldn't help but roll his eyes to Luo Hua. But it actually looks like this white-eyed is infinite amorous feelings. Ha ha ha. Luo Hua smiled openly. He walked out of the palace of the king step by step. Finally, he said at the door, next, our Sky City will enter a time and space that is invisible and hard to be attacked. Hear what Luo Hua said. All angels shined brightly. When Wang said this sentence, it means that Luo Hua has applied Space Gem to a certain level. Follow Luo Hua out of the palace. In the sight of all angel, Luo Hua opened his wings and flew to the top of the Sky City with a slight shake. Then, a burst of blue energy violently erupted from Luo Hua's body. And it enveloped the entire city of the sky in an instant. In fact, Luo Hua is talking about time and space. It is to rearrange the time and space near the Sky City. This approach can directly hide the Sky City in time and space. The advantage of this is definitely that the enemy will not find the city in the sky no matter what means. But there is only one disadvantage. That is, the city in the sky cannot be moved easily. As long as you move, you need to rearrange the order of time and space once. Definitely, it is unrealistic to create a space of tens of kilometers and put the Sky City in it. And this kind of space has no sun, no air, nothing. There is only an endless blue border in there. So creating a space for survival is definitely not cost-effective. There is no need. Talking. In Hexi's eyes, Sky City gradually began to fall into the unstable state of the film code. And this state is getting deeper and deeper. But nearing an end. Suddenly these garbled codes, like snowflakes on old TVs, disappeared. Are we successful? Liang Bing asked, looking at the same environment as before. After all, the sky can still be seen outside. And there is no difference from before. But Luo Hua has fallen down. Slap. After snapping his fingers, everyone came to the outside of Sky City in an instant. Hey, Liang Bing made a lovely sound. Where is my house? That big one. It was there just now. I'm still stepping on it. Why is it gone? Didn't you ask if you succeeded? Luo Hua looked at Liang Bing and smiled. Look with the eye of insight. Hear the words. All angels have opened their eyes of insight. But, after a while, they shook their heads and turned off. Do you know why you can't see it? Luo Hua asked. Aelin and Kayla must shook their heads and said they didn't know. But just when Hexy and Keisha were thinking about it, Liang Bing, the time-space professional counterpart angel, immediately thought of it. The Eye of Insight uses dark energy scanning. But this hidden technology of time and space does rearrange the order of time and space. So strictly speaking, the flow of dark energy is severed. So we can't detect it. I heard Liang Bing's full answer. Bang bang bang. Luo Hua slapped his hand with fear, and beckoned to Liang Bing. Liang Bing flew over happily after seeing it. Luo Hua's large and slender palm smoothly compliments her on her head. Yes, a perfect answer. The complimented Liang Bing suddenly raised a smirk. After all, praise yourself in front of all angels. Liang Bing is a little embarrassed. So, those who can discover the city of the sky from now on must have the basic knowledge of time and space. And even if you understand it, you need a certain amount of ability. Now I give you permission so that you can naturally analyze the order of time and space. Finished. Luo Hua raised his hands. This time he sorted out the time and space sequence number of Sky City and uploaded it to Angel's shared system. So, relatively speaking, they have a key for the hiding of Sky City. And this key is the space-time serial number of the reordering. After accepting the transmission, when the angels looked at the original location of the Sky City again, they can see an illusory Sky City floating in the air without opening their eyes of insight. It is equivalent to a transparent crystal. Only they can see. Is it if we don't have this key? So even if you pass through the Sky City now, you can't hit the Sky City. At this time, Liang Bing tilted his head and thought of another question. Yes, Luo Hua nodded with some appreciation and looked at Liang Bing. It is a professional counterpart. Even this has been calculated. The hiding mentioned here is not a visual hiding. After disrupting the order of time and space, we exist in this space and time, but not in reality. It can be said that reality is just a kind of time and space. So, for example, when a bird is in flight, it can pass directly through the Sky City without hitting it. It's like an online game. A map has 1 line, 2 lines, 3 lines, 4 lines, etc. many lines. The current reality is on line 1, which is the main line. But Sky City can't even express it online. No one can find it. It turned out to be like this. Hexy nodded with regret and said, unfortunately, this sort of time and space is not dynamic. Otherwise we can hit others casually, but others will never be able to hit us. The idea is good, but it's not realistic. If you can edit the time and space order all the time, then Luo Hua can create a world. Slap. Then Luo Hua snapped his fingers. Everyone was teleported to the courtyard again. Take them to the pavilion. Luo Hua sat down and said. Then next is that we enter an important period of vigorous development. Next I will use Space Gem and Mind Gem to create a treasure trove of knowledge and a network of minds. After all these are done, I will create the 3rd batch of angels. At that time, we will welcome new and high potential descendants. And our stage will be the Sea of Stars. At the moment only Luo Hua sat down. But all angels stood up and said loudly. For civilization. For the king. It has been a long time since the Chitauri invasion. But it's actually only a week or 2. During this time, Luo Hua is already setting up the framework of the Knowledge Treasure House and the structure of Angel's spiritual network. These 2 are extremely large projects. Even if Luo Hua has been using all the energy of Space Gem and Mind Gem to operate. Now it's just set up soon. Definitely. The reason why it takes these 2 weeks is mostly because Luo Hua at the moment is only the 3rd generation angel's body. Although he is the host, he is countless times stronger than other angels. But this still limits the energy delivered by the 2 gems. And, the energy of these 2 gems is not used by Luo Hua alone. He also allocated 1/10 to 1/5 of the energy to Keisha, Liangbing and Hexy. Because they study the divine body together. So we have to allocate some to them appropriately. Definitely. The effect obtained is also remarkable. I heard that they have almost studied a generation of divine bodies. Isn't this efficiency? At the same time, somewhere deep in the universe, there are ruins all around. There is a seat that can be climbed up by stairs. For now, this is indeed a throne. But compared to Luo Hua's, it is more like a bench. And it's still the kind that can turn around. At the moment Chidori's leader stood under the steps and looked at the bench on the steps, it's the throne's back and said, Thanos-sama, the bursting angel disrupted our plan. They not only took Tesseract, they also took the scepter we gave Loki. At the moment Thanos sat on the throne with his back leaning on the Chidori leader. He said coldly, why did you fail? We have used the greatest military power. Hundreds of thousands of Zeta Swiss soldiers, hundreds of war beasts and our only flagship. But just those two angels cleaned up our thousands of soldiers and several war behemoths. Finally their king came out and came directly to the opposite side of the universe to clean up all our troops. We really have no way to fight. Between words. The Chidori leader's tone was full of helplessness and regret. He couldn't think of it. Why can a mere 6 angel civilizations or races clean up their soldiers without injury? And it can be seen from the video sent back. Their soldiers did not have the slightest strength to fight back. It was completely lifted and beaten by Angel. Even they dispatched an angel and blocked the portal. The Zeta Swiss soldiers who have entered the Earth here are not supported at all. The final result of this is, 2 angels turned the scene into an idiom. That is catching turtles in the urn. After Thanos listened. It's been quiet for a long time. Then he said, you have lost most of your troops in this invasion. And the unknown species angel is indeed not something you can deal with. Go back, and come back when your strength is restored. Facing blame that Thanos didn't. The Chidori leader immediately nodded and bowed in excitement, then stepped back. But the main thing is that they also really lost most of their troops. Otherwise Thanos would not spare him. But in fact, Angel's strength is also doomed to failure of the Kitari civilization. And Thanos is not the kind of creature that vents anger in anger. Wait until the Chidori leader is gone. Thanos turned the chair back. The palm he was holding opened. Inside is an aerial projector. Then the projector turned on a segment of video. The videos in it are all scenes of Angel fighting. From Angel's dispatch to the final pass, roar. From Luo Hua's appearance to the final clearing of the flagship, it stopped abruptly. This is obviously a piece of footage recorded by countless Zeta Swiss soldiers before their deaths. It is the deaths of countless soldiers to collect these videos. After a long time, after watching all these videos, Thanos squeezed his palm again and turned off the projector. He looked at the endless dark starry sky ahead. Finally sighed. Angel, you are the most perfect creature and civilization in my cognition. Yes, just think about it. The least encroached on and plundered resources. The population is also small. But the quality of the population is the first in the universe. The efficiency of this conversion hardly wastes any resources. And to ensure that every resource is used on the blade. So is there any civilization comparable to Angel civilization? Anyway, it's in Thanos' heart. No one. All have to eat fart. At the moment Thanos thought of his own Titan. Due to excessive use of resources. Countless homes and people have no livelihood. The decree for having the population is still his proposal. But there was definitely objection at the time. But through various means, Thanos successfully implemented this plan. So the first thing in the universe is to have the population immediately. It is the Titan, the home of Thanos. After the population is halved, Titan slowly got better as he wished. So Thanos always believes. The halving of the population of the universe is necessary. But when I saw the species angel today, Thanos admitted that his eyes lit up. Such a small population, such a strong technology, such an extreme combat power, such a high efficiency. Such a good body, such a beautiful soul, just combine it all. That is what a perfect civilization. This is the perfect race in Thanos' mind. None of them. Then, Thanos thought about Angel civilization for a long time. But he suddenly felt that he liked this civilization very much. Moreover, in the half-clearance plan of the universe, there is no need to target this civilization at all. But, the space gem has been taken away by their king, Luo Hua. This is a trouble. Without collecting all the gems, Thanos would not be able to complete this plan. At this time, a respectful and humble man walked out in a housekeeper's uniform. He looked at Thanos, lowered his head and asked, Master Thanos. The Angel of Earth has already got the space gem, let me take it back for you. Thanos first raised his right hand without hesitation and made a forbidden palm movement. Then he thought for a while. Ebony Maw, if you go, you may not be able to get out of Angel's territory. At present, I appreciate this civilization very much. So I can get the infinite gems they currently hold. But, Ebony Maw hesitated. Thanos shouldn't be like this. If this is the original Thanos, after knowing these things, he must have driven the fleet to fight over. But why wait until the end this time? Ebony Maw certainly didn't understand Thanos's feelings. He wants to have the population of the universe, isn't it, for resources and a morbid reason? But seeing Angel, he was instantly shocked as a heavenly man. There can be this kind of civilization. Besides, there are not many gems that know the location. So if you can get an infinite gems, you can get an infinite gems first. It's nothing. Thanos directly interrupted Ebony Maw's desire to post. Go down, let the fleet continue to find other infinite gems. Also, send this video to the entire universe. Let them all see what a truly top civilization is. With the video that Thanos threw to Ebony Maw also blindly accepted and nodded in agreement. No matter what, he will do what Thanos says. Wait until Ebony Maw is gone. Thanos turned chairs around again and was in a daze. Angel civilization may reach tens of thousands of angels in the future. After all, no matter how good Angel is, when there are too many civilizations in the field, Angel will be needed to manage it. But Angel is still what human society says. Fewer births and better births, happy life. Even if there are tens of thousands of angels, they are still all elite units in the angel civilization. For a long time in a daze. Oh, Thanos sighed slightly. No one knew what he was trying to write in his heart. But at the moment, Gamora and Nebula looked at each other at the door. Their interest in Angel exploded. There is actually a creature that can make, father, like this. Be sure to see it. At the same time, at the moment in the Sky City of the Earth, Luo Hua finally built the theoretical framework of the Knowledge Treasure House. Just follow this framework to set an input energy. Then the Treasure House of Knowledge can operate perfectly. And just upgrade it constantly. Sooner or later it can surpass the giant galaxy-level supercomputing system like the Big Clock. Pata, 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 pata. At this time, 5 footsteps came from outside the courtyard. They walked together like this. Hexy, Keisha, Liangbing, Alan, Kayla. It seems that after so long, Keisha still occupies the C position of the 3 sisters. Definitely, Hexy sneaking away counts as sneaking away. This is an emotional aspect, not a personality aspect. Kesha occupies the C position because of her soul charm. But as long as it involves Luo Hua, Liangbing and Hexy can still face off against Keisha. Then, as they all enter the courtyard, Luo Hua had already sat in the pavilion looking at them and said, "Let you come here this time to witness the moment when the Treasure House of Knowledge is completed." For an instant, all angels opened their beautiful eyes. So fast, it is impossible for angels not to be surprised. The role of the Treasure House of Knowledge is no less than that of the dark matter computer. And strictly speaking, the importance of the dark matter computer at the level of civilization is not as important as the Treasure House of Knowledge. Because the knowledge treasury developed will greatly strengthen the role of the top angel. For example, Luo Hua planned this way. 25% of the computing power in the knowledge treasury will be given to Keisha, Liangbing and Hexy. Then the 5% will be given to Alan and Kayla. He himself will occupy 70%. But wait until the new angel comes out. Luo Hua will continue to give up part of it. But even let it go. Luo Hua will occupy at least 50% here. But then again, even if the 5% is given to Alan and Kayla, this is a big improvement. And the 25% goes to the third daughter of Kesha. The speed of their divine body research will also increase rapidly. The picture returns to reality. Luo Hua looked at the angels. Before they need to sit down. With Luo Hua's hand, a blue gate more than 2 meters high suddenly appeared in front of everyone. It is like a door that is constantly deep. It seems that there are countless blue clouds that are constantly being sucked into it. This is a private space. Liangbing opened his eyes of insight and suddenly guessed. Luo Hua nodded, stood up and walked to the side of the gate of time and space. Wang, how old is it? When Liangbing saw Luo Hua nod his head, he asked curiously. This kind of private space is basically invincible. As long as you don't get caught by the place, you can forcibly break in. Then this space will always be safe. And being forced into it by the locals would be like this at most in the hands of others. Here is Luo Hua. He only needs to set the time-space sequence system for the doorway of the private space. Then ordinary people can't get in at all. This is basically the same as the setting of the Sky City. Luo Hua looked at Liang Bing and said, temporarily set it as a square space with length, width and height of 1,000 meters. This is enough for me to put in the treasure trove of knowledge and precious items in the future. At this time, I was shocked after listening to the cold ice of the space file size. Each side is 1,000 meters of private space. Such a large space. Why is it not enough? And it's absolutely safe. This is definitely an excellent place to put a treasure trove of knowledge. Let's go. Finished. As soon as Luo Hua turned around, he stepped into the gate of time and space that was more than 2 meters high. After watching Luo Hua disappear, Liang Bing was the first to follow up in a hurry. Keisha and Hexi glanced at each other and walked in unhurriedly. Definitely Aylin and Kayla also followed in. After coming to the private space, Liang Bing looked at every corner here curiously. At the moment, all the angels are actually stepping on an empty flat floor. Surrounded by endless starry sky, everyone seems to be standing in the center of the universe. Liang Bing looked around, but there was nothing in fact. She turned around and asked curiously, can the environment here be changed? Definitely yes. Luo Hua waved one hand. The original universe has become Perseverance. Then it becomes Mercury again. Then sink to the bottom of the sea. But I haven't finished watching countless marine animals. The surrounding environment has once again become an endless snow-capped mountains. These are all visual effects, they are all simulations. The real space we are in is actually a private space that is independent of reality but exists in reality. It stands to reason that no matter which axis extends 1,000 meters, it is inaccessible nothingness. Listen to the cold ice. Immediately opened the wings behind him. Then her wings shook. It disappeared in an instant. But next, bang, there was a muffled hum of collision. Liang Bing flew back again. It's just that the C on her forehead is messy. And there is another red stamp on the forehead. Pissed. Suddenly, Hexi couldn't help laughing. She held Keisha's shoulder with her right hand, and shrugged her shoulder with a smile on her belly with her left hand. Kesha was also stunned by Liangbing and couldn't help but smile at the corner of her mouth. Aylin and Kayla definitely couldn't help it. But because of Liang Bing's face, they lightly covered their lips while turning back to try not to laugh out loud by themselves. But in fact, their shoulders kept shaking. Everyone knows Liangbing at a glance. Suddenly felt ashamed to go to Rao Keisha and Hexi. Even Luo Hua couldn't laugh or cry. It's all said and then extended as an inaccessible void. Why do you want to fly so quickly to try it? Titu baby, it's you that Frozen 2 King is talking about. Cool ice. Liang Bing immediately rubbed his forehead without pretending to be aggrieved. Then you didn't say that this inaccessible void is like a wall. She thought it was the kind of space where the more obstacles you enter, the bigger the space. Who knew it was a wall? It sounds good to say that it is nothingness. You. Luo Hua smiled helplessly and shook his head. At present, the live treasure in Angel is cold ice. Well, now I am ready to create a treasure trove of knowledge. This is one of the most precious pictures of the entire civilization. Don't blame me for not reminding you, write it down now. I can show off to the younger generation in the future. Suddenly, after Luo Hua's reminder, all Angel immediately turned on the system and aimed at Luo Hua and started recording. They just think about it. This record can definitely show off to future generations. Only 5 copies of the whole civilization. Is this not enough? Seeing that they are all ready, Luo Hua also immersed himself directly in the system. Knowledge treasure. It is the foundation of a God-making civilization, and it is also the foundation of a God-making civilization. At the same time, it is also a celestial-level supercomputer system, but it does not mean that it has a celestial planet file size. Its function is applicable to any aspect, whether it is combat, research and development, calculation, etc. Ding. Angel civilization technology set successfully. Knowledge treasure. Acting on computing things at any level, it can even calculate the unknown future through atomic changes, but yes, the energy it consumes is also extremely terrifying. The setting is complete. Luo Hua opened his eyes. At the same time, start to input energy into this technology. Immediately afterwards, in reality, in all angels' eyesight, in front of their king, Luo Hua suddenly began to gather light particles non-stop. These light particles gather together as soon as they collide. Then start from the ground. A circular foundation gradually formed. Round table, trunk, branches, yi mao, fruit. With the completion of each part, after a while, a real thing that a normal person could not even think of appeared in front of everyone. It is a treasure trove of knowledge. This may surprise others. Why is a celestial supercomputer a tree? Definitely. Reach the level of God-making civilization. The appearance of an object is no longer important. So it's no surprise that a tree with lush branches and fruits is there. But this tree is definitely different from normal. First, the trunk, branches and leaves of this tree are all made up of fluorescent particles. The whole of them exudes faint fluorescence. It's like the color of fluorescent stone. At the same time, if you look closely, although the fruit on this tree is silver white with golden silk, it happens to have 15 fruits. Diaresis, why is there 15? Quote, at the moment Liangbing asked curiously. After all, a treasure trove of knowledge is here. Why did it just produce 15 fruits? Aylin and Kayla are also thinking. At the same time, even Kesha didn't react. Definitely, Kesha didn't expect it to be excusable. But Hexy seemed to have thought of something. Under the curious eyes of Keisha and Liangbing, started to count with his fingers. 1 generation angel, 1, 2nd generation angel, 2, 3 generation angel, 3, wings of time and space, 4, sky city, 5. Wait until all the technology is finished. Hexy raised his head to meet Luo Hua, who had already turned to look at him and said with joy. Wang, do the 15 fruits represent the 15 major technologies owned by Angel Civilization? Slap. Luo Hua clapped his palms. Then he stretched out his hand and rubbed the top of Hexy's head and praised, it seems that you have been by my side for the longest time and understand the most. Hexy and Aylin followed him from beginning to end. So this whole road came along. All technology Hexy knows. It is also the clearest of them. Angel Civilization Creation System. Technology. The first generation of Angel's body, the second generation of Angel's body, the third generation of Angel's body, Angel wings, time and space, sky city, belief energy conversion, inside eye, micro wormhole transportation technology, dark energy communication technology, all system energy projection technology, dark computer, wave space time detection technology, mind gem, space gem, treasure house of knowledge. A total of 15 important technologies. A total of 15 silver and golden fruits. One is not bad, all are there. Luo Hua turned around and looked back at the fruits. This can be regarded as a way for me to record the certification of civilization. Without these fruits, our development along the way will be unproven. Yes, I heard Luo Hua say so. Hexy was the one who moved the most. From the beginning of a little bit of technology development to the present. Time seems to meet very quickly. But the process is full of fun. But the most important thing is who you are with. At the moment, Hexy's eyes towards fruit also unconsciously looked at Luo Hua's back. In fact, there are many plans ahead. Such as the spiritual network, the divine body project, the new generation angel and so on. Then there is contact with civilizations in other universes. But at the same time, countless civilizations in the universe were also shocked by the videos released by Thanos. Chapter 101. What kind of creature is this? Angel. Why do they have wings? Why are they so beautiful? Why does this civilization only have 6 units? These few questions are almost a few questions that the entire universe is now wondering. Take the at the moment Andromeda Galaxy, Sandal's star. This is the territory of the new star empire. At the same time, other civilizations in the universe also call it Cheta. The Nova Empire is already one of the empires with the highest technological level in the universe. At the same time, they also fought a 1,000-year war with the Carry Empire. However, it seems that a peace agreement has been signed recently. Strictly speaking, this empire not only has many colonial planets. At the same time, it is still a good empire. At the moment, the commander-in-chief of the New Star Empire is watching the video of Angel Civilization together with the captain. For the race in this universe that was suddenly exposed. The Nova Empire is also very curious. What do you think of their strength? New Star Empire Commander-in-Chief Audora at the moment asked her captain. Commander-in-Chief, their individual strength is very powerful. And they can all fly, and they can even teleport. And it can be seen that their physical strength is still very powerful, and they can even survive in the universe. To be honest, but the New Star Empire was shocked when he saw this video. Because they saw Angel move in the universe with only his body. And that weapon, that armor, that flight speed, that way of attack. Basically every ability of Angel shocked their eyes. It's too fierce to dig a groove. No wonder I heard that this was the news from Thanos. That Titan guy is not easy to mess with. Don't look at the Nova Empire as the top civilization in the universe. But even his Rising Star Army's vision in Thanos' army is not worth mentioning. The Rising Star Legion is a fart in Thanos' eyesight. At the same time, in another place in the universe of universe, there are dark nebulae everywhere, so it looks very dim here. But among these nebulae, a broken head comparable to the file size of a planet floats here. This is the head of a certain celestial group. Now it is used as a home. In this chaotic place, there is no law and no one to restrict it. The only thing it has is the rules. And there is a very famous person here. His name is Collector. Everyone here knows that he is very powerful, and the people standing behind are also very powerful. But only few people know. Collector is not only Collector. He is also the brother of Sakar Bal Gao Tianzun. Right, it is Gao Tianzun in Chaos Space, nicknamed Grand Master. At the moment, he thought the red-skinned maid was wiping the glass. And he himself sat on a sofa to watch the most popular video in the universe. That's the video of Chidori's attack on the Earth and Angel's handover. What everyone sees in the video is the same. The Angel civilization undoubtedly crushed the Kitari civilization. The more Collector watches the video, the more it gets started. He slowly moved from leaning to sitting upright, and then from sitting to standing up. The more I look at him, the more excited he gets. The more I look at him, the more anxious he becomes. In the end, Collector even turned around the sofa. Master, what's the matter with you? At the moment, the red-skinned maid next to her asked curiously. She hadn't seen Collector's crazy sheep in so many years. And in the future, even if Collector got the reality gem at the time, he was not so excited. Hear what his maid said. Collector suddenly reacted. He called the maid loudly. Go and send me interstellar messages. Anyone who knows about Angel civilization can come to me. As long as the information is more detailed, I can give him more benefits. His maid saw Collector so excited and immediately got up. Then immediately panicked and sent a message in the void. All news about Angel civilization information can come to Collector to change things. Closing curly bracket. As soon as this news is released. Oh. The chaos in the void land immediately shouted for joy, roar. Collector can directly appear on the scene and announce what is needed. Then its value will be ridiculously high. So now as long as anyone has what Collector needs, that is, news about Angel civilization, they can make a fortune. But what is Angel civilization? What is Angel? Leave her alone. Anyway, her news is worth the money and it's over. So the whole place of nothingness suddenly reveled. All the creatures here immediately began to understand what the Angel civilization is. Definitely, their hopes will be shattered. Because there is too little news about Angel civilization. So they are destined to make no money. The next day, the Earth, the city in the sky. Since building a treasure house of knowledge that day. This can be said to be huge amounts of the improvement of Angel civilization. Know what kind of experience it is to upgrade from GTX 650 to 3090. The effect after the construction of the knowledge treasure house can be countless times stronger than this. Make an analogy. If at the moment Luo Hua bounces a coin into the air, then at the moment of this bounce, Luo Hua can know everything he will experience after this coin. For example, how many laps, how long do you roll on the ground, how long do you spin, and which side will land. Luo Hua knows all these. And this is the simplest and easiest to calculate. If it's a little tougher, and input more energy into the treasure house of knowledge. Then Luo Hua can calculate the lifespan of a creature, that is, know how long it will die, how long it can live, and so on. Definitely, all of the above are natural creatures, which should not be counted as accidents. But what if it's crazier? Suppose the energy of space gem every minute and every second is fully output to the treasure house of knowledge. If we don't talk about whether the treasure house of knowledge will be destroyed. Luo Hua can even enjoy the ability of a pseudo-time gem every moment. That is, the future in a small area. But correspondingly, the treasure house of knowledge can do nothing. So it's not cost-effective. At this time, patter, patter, patter. Some eager footsteps suddenly came from outside the courtyard. Luo Hua listened. Having spent so much time with each other, Luo Hua can distinguish every angel's footsteps clearly. I believe everyone can hear the footsteps of people who are familiar. So those who are coming outside now are Keisha, Hexi and Liangbing. But this time they actually left a bit anxiously. This shows something unexpected. Wait for them to get to the door. Then he saw Luo Hua sitting in the pavilion, nodding his head and walked in. It's been so long. Luo Hua no longer needs to say, come in. So a random action can express meaning. As soon as they sat down after they came in, Liangbing couldn't help being the first to say. Wang, through your genetic framework, our first-generation divine body has basically been studied. Oh, Luo Hua was a little surprised, a lot earlier than expected. If according to the budget and Kesha said, that's at least a few weeks. At the moment Keisha used the energy projection to directly project the gene sequence and said. Because Wang Feng gave us 25% of the calculation capacity of the knowledge treasure house. The speed of our research calculations suddenly increased several times faster. So next we will study it in advance. Luo Hua holds a teacup in his left hand. The right hand slides on these two gene sequences and looks at it. But because of accelerated research, your process is also a bit hasty. So while happy to report, you also want me to review it. Hexi nodded. Yes, Wang. Luo Hua nodded lightly. Then use your fingers to gently slide the two gene sequences in front of you in the air. This is the first generation of divine body that they researched out. Although the first generation divine body is mainly to enhance the function, the difficulty is not particularly large. But for civilization, this is a sudden increase. Time passed by every minute and every second. Follow Luo Hua's invisible swipe to review. Now you can clearly see the tension of Keisha, Hexi and Liangbing. After all, this is a major project. If the research is successful, this can be added to the fruit of the treasure house of knowledge. After a long time, Luo Hua stopped gently sliding his fingers. The three women followed roar to take a breath. Luo Hua couldn't help but laughed at their reaction. What is your reaction? Are you so uneasy about your own research? He didn't find the problem anymore. He slipped to the end. So definitely stopped. And the three women were so focused that they didn't notice that they stopped after turning over. Still found the problem and stopped. So when Luo Hua stopped, they both thought it was a problem and stopped. This even sucks Kesha roar, the most stable character. This shows how nervous they are. Keisha was the first to react. She looked at Luo Hua with slightly happy eyes. Wang means, no problem. Luo Hua took a sip of tea with a teacup in his left hand. At the same time, the two divine body genes were received into the system with a grip of the right hand in the void. If there is a problem, would I still say that? Oye, carrot oh carrot. The moment Luo Hua finished speaking, Liangbing couldn't help standing up and raising his hands to joy roar. This is an important technology that can join the fruit of the knowledge treasure house. They were able to succeed at once. After a while, Wang will load this technology on every angel. So in the future, everyone's basic divine body, Liangbing, can be proud to say. The first generation of the foundation of the divine body was researched out by us. Definitely, they were able to study the divine body and indispensable to Luo Hua's outline for them. Looking at Roar's appearance in Liangbing Huan, Luo Hua, Keisha, and Hexi couldn't help but shook their heads with wry smiles. Just Liangbing has always been like a child. But now that the god body technology has been developed, then create it and try. Isn't it a pity not to try it without Roar ability? Who won't try it after getting the artifact? Except for the cold ice that night attack that night. The first generation of the divine body, it is the standard for expressing freedom from the mortal body. No oxygen is needed, no food is needed, immunity to most of the radiation, survival in the cosmic environment, etc. are its basic functions. Although angel does not need food to replenish energy. But this is still one of the standards of the divine body. Ding. Angel civilization technology set successfully. The first generation of gods. The successful development of this technology means that angel has completely separated from the mortal level. From then on, angel can survive with only energy. They are the elves of the universe, the gods in the sky, and the true gods. After creating good technology, Luo Hua also found that every angel can be equipped with this technology. So, load all angels with the first generation of gods. Loading complete. At the moment in reality, as Luo Hua loaded them with divine bodies, Keisha, Liang Bing and Hexi suddenly lit up. Slap. Luo Hua snapped his fingers directly. The original 4 angels in the courtyard directly became 6 angels floating in the outer universe. Yes, Luo Hua snapped his fingers and teleported Aelin and Kayla. At the moment everyone is floating in space on Earth. But out of instinct, at present they still hold their roar suck. The 3rd generation physique like Keisha. After holding roar inhalation, you can do it without roar inhalation for dozens of hours. So Luo Hua said in the dark communication channel. Relax your body, and then slowly try to move like a normal roar sucking. Hear Luo Hua's explanation. The angels began to slowly let go and hold their breath. Then try to restore the roar suction environment on the Earth. But what surprised them was, there will be no oxygen in the sky tomorrow. But they still have the sensation of oxygen inhaling into their lungs when they breathe and roar. Liang Bing put his hand in front of his small nose and took a breath. There is no airflow at all. In other words, the divine body is considered to be a complete experiment successfully. And in such a low temperature space, they are not afraid of freezing temperatures at all. In other words, it is completely possible for the physical body to survive in the universe. Slap. Luo Hua snapped his fingers again. Definitely this snap is silent. Because there is no sound caused by air friction. But the 6 angels returned to Earth. After all, snapping your fingers is just a convenient way of expression. Back to the city in the sky. Liang Bing expressed his discovery with joy. It turns out that this is really the case. All the creatures need can be replaced with energy belts. When I was in roar, the energy was converted into demand to replace it with the passage of time. Obviously there is no oxygen. But when Liangbing's body needs roar to inhale, energy automatically replaces it. This is really amazing. Luo Hua led everyone into the pavilion and sat down. Then he picked up the cold ice snack from the table and ate a bit. If you think this is amazing, there will be even more amazing things in the future. The God body reaches the 4th generation, and the personal calculation of the time and space God body can even surpass the treasure house of knowledge. After listening, Liang Bing took a pair of eyes. The amount of personal calculation surpasses the treasure house of knowledge. So what is this concept? How much is the amount of consumption? Regardless of Liang Bing, who is still surprised, Luo Hua turned to look at Aelin and Kayla and said, now that the divine body has been studied, we can also formally communicate with the universe. In a few days, we can directly announce and trade the flagship of the Zeteric civilization. As long as things can be exchanged, they can be exchanged on a list. Aelin and Kayla nodded. They are going to do this in a while. I want to spread the notification to the entire universe and I want to distinguish the levels. Then the propagation of dark energy compound waves is a good choice. In this way, the low-level civilizations in the universe cannot be detected. But all civilizations that can be detected will be received. After all, it is an exchange of flagships. It's useless if the low-level civilization knows it. Then, Luo Hua looked at Keisha and Hexi and said, the research and development of the 2nd generation divine body will also continue. The research and development of the divine body is endless, and the 4th generation I am talking about is not the focus. If one day, every one of our angels can be so powerful that they can't be imagined, then what kind of life we want to live is up to us. Fishing, raising pets, planting flowers, planting trees, painting, these seemingly ordinary lives are the most difficult for us. Because the universe is full of crises, no one will let us live a good life. Wait for Luo Hua to finish. All angels nodded. For them, the more ordinary life is, the more rare it is. A life that is easy and comfortable and can live out the value of life is very difficult. Because there are always some unsatisfactory or drowning existences who want to pull you into the water. A few days later. At present, the whole New York is still working hard to rebuild. After all, there are too many dilapidated buildings and collapsed houses, and even the ground. For a time, the entire Harmonton became the most broken area in New York. But even if it breaks, Harmonton remains the economic hub of New York. So the speed of reconstruction is still very fast. At the same time, an undercurrent surging across the United States is beginning. At the moment in the Shield and the Tritoon Wing building. Hill joked while looking at Fury while holding the file. Chief Fury, the presidential campaign has already begun, do you want to participate? Fury at the moment sat on the sofa and watched the scenery. Then suddenly he was taken aback by what Hill said. I just made a joke that day. It's impossible to run for president with an experience like mine. They will only elect someone who is superficially beautiful, and then has background strength. Hill nodded. This is true. But, I think one of the hard conditions in the presidential election this time is that Angel is not allowed to be offended. And as far as possible, try to negotiate with Angel as friendly as possible. Said it was a friendly negotiation. But that is an outward statement. Isn't it just about licking Angel well? As long as you are not stupid, the upper level can just look at the nuclear bomb launch records. Then analyze the causes of the incident. So no one knows how that nuclear bomb exploded. If it was before, those who now participate in political elections will still support the launch of nuclear bombs. But now is now. These officials who participated in the political elections would only curse the previous government for what currency. The walls are numb, which is normal. At the moment Hill looked at Fury. Then she took out the file sternly and let it go to Fury. Director Fury, there are now several records of sudden explosions across the country. Because we can't analyze it, we don't know whether it was a terrorist attack or a supernatural incident. But maybe it has something to do with a country where war is going on. Speaking of business, Fury immediately got up and picked up the file and looked at it. The above are several explosions that happened suddenly during this period. And the power of every explosion cannot be underestimated. Sudden, the projections of the entire Fury office in the Shield building flickered frequently. And even the facilities of the intelligence center began to be affected. Then national television news broadcasts were directly cut off. After a while, all news and television stations across the country began to broadcast a news at the same time. Then a man who calls himself Mandarin announced that all recent explosions were made by himself. And on the day of campaign tradition, he will plan an explosion. And in the end, he will take this to request to see Angel. Otherwise, the final explosion will only be greater. Wait until the network is safe again. Fury and Hill in Shield's office looked at each other. The video just now has been rebroadcasted to them. Sheet. Fury was so angry that he didn't know what he wanted to say. He opened his mouth several times without speaking. So in the end he cursed directly. Are they kidding me? If you want to mess up the presidential election, forget it. Why do you want Angel to come out? What are you doing to mess with Angel? Fury is really hot. They originally ran for the president quietly. Then lick Angel again, isn't it comfortable and cruel? But I didn't expect Mandarin to drag himself into the water again. Are you crazy? Hill also sighed helplessly. I hope Angel knows that we're helpless. Originally, the presidential campaign was to fit Angel. As a result, Mandarin did it by hand. I don't know, I thought it was Angel who was involved. At the same time, Luo Hua sits in the pavilion of the Sky City. He definitely knew about it. Strictly speaking, he was the first to know about it. Patter, patter. After a while, the sound of the quick footsteps of Aylin and Kayla came from outside the courtyard. After they came in, they looked at Luo Hua, who was still leisurely, and pleaded. Wong, let me kill him directly. After Aylin finished speaking, Kira added at the back, Aldrezi Killian, the master behind him. I think he should be killed at the same time, because he is planning all this. Original. The moment Mandarin released the news. Aylin and Kayla have already, digged up all the 18th generation information of their ancestors through the eyes of insight. So let alone who is behind the scenes. Who is the real culprit? That was all in vain under Angel's insight into civilization. Luo Hua smiled and put down the teacup. Angel is not a creature that everyone likes. There are always people who don't like it, not just them. Look at the reaction of the United States government first. All the upper levels in the previous session were not very obedient, so I changed them to C. This happens to be their first test. Luo Hua said this. Aylin and Kayla remembered. The last session was really disobedient, and then both of them were wronged. Then it was gone. So this time I changed it a bit. They immediately glanced at each other sweetly in their hearts. Then he nodded heavily to Luo Hua. Who doesn't like the feeling of being pampered by the king? But Luo Hua put down the teacup and looked at them and asked. How about exchanging the Kitari flagship in the universe? A few days have passed since Luo Hua arranged this matter. So Aylin and Kayla definitely finished. They nodded. It has been spread out. If we receive the news, we will report it to the king as soon as possible. Luo Hua nodded. In other words, now other forces in the universe are preparing lists. To tell the truth, although the Kitarui flagship did not show any ability. That's because Luo Hua solved it too quickly. The Kitari army was one of Thanos' hands anyway. So the technical content of this flagship is still there. If you have to compare, the value of this flagship is about the same as the value of the Accuser Ronin's battleship. In other words, whoever takes this battleship back will be able to study a little bit of fame. So all the major forces in the universe definitely want it. Just like the place of chaos now. After receiving the message from Angel Civilization, Collector immediately stood up happily. He turned to his red-skinned maid and sternly said, "Find out the list of my collection. Then send it to Angel Civilization." Good host. The red-skinned maid listened. Immediately got up and went to make a list on the equipment. Rare servant, rare animal, rare plants, rare treasure, rare minerals, rare. Basically, everything that Collector owns is relatively rare. Because there are no low-level things that can be collected by Collector. So as long as it can be side by side, at least all of them can call roar rare. It started with the news of Angel Civilization. Collector's maid has been searching for a long time just to list the items. It has been listed for a few days. After the maid finally listed all the treasures, Collector hurriedly ordered, "Hurry up and post it." Yes, master. In fact, Collector is not the Zetaru flagship at all. When he got this thing, he would only sell it and become a second-door dealer. What he is looking for is news about Angel. For a collector, there is nothing more important after knowing the civilization of Angel. Collect Angel, he definitely can't even think about it. But beyond that, he wants to collect more products about Angel. At the same time, there is also a civilization like Collector of Nothing Land. And this civilization is strictly speaking crazier. If I say that this civilization particularly likes golden things, everyone should know. This civilization is sovereign. Yes, it was the mouse, no, the civilization where the raccoon stole the battery and was chased and killed. At the moment their civilized hall. Currently only the High Priest Aisha and her 2 ordinary priests are here. Oh, their king is really charming. This sentence was really said by the High Priest Aisha sitting on the throne. At the moment, she is looking over and over again at the video of Angel Civilization. But mainly watched repeatedly. It's the video of Luo Hua riding on the throne and then all the way to the universe. This video has been watched by the High Priest Aisha, the master of the civilization of Sovereign, many times in such a long time. High Priest, you have watched it 2,356 times. At this time, the sacrifice on her right reminded. Didn't you listen to them 2,356 times? Why, don't you like their angel king? The High Priest Aisha showed the video to her 2 priests while talking. At the moment the priest in golden robes saw this video, she even sank in by herself. They have watched the video here countless times. But it's not so much that it's them, it's better to say that the entire civilized women have watched it many, many times. As for why, this is to talk about the significance of the existence of Sovereign as a civilization. The main technology of their civilization is genetic engineering technology and super battery. With these 2 technologies, Because they attach great importance to the value of their lives, they have also developed the world's top unmanned spacecraft technology. But in general, Sovereign is a civilization that values genes and spirit the most. Their women really value genes too much. And because civilization is originally strong, they are basically very proud and high in the universe. They see themselves as the most genetically perfect species in the universe. In other words, this civilization regards genes and their souls as the most important things. Even the birth of a child, it must also be genetically matched. But I want to talk about it here. Their newborns are genetically bred and then come out of the incubator. And Sovereign also believes that this is a high-level breeding method. That kind of primitive admiration is unstable and unreliable in their eyesight. In other words, all the women in Sovereign are unmanned virgins. Anyway, seeing his sacrificial sacrifice go in again, Aisha disdainfully opened the video and continued watching. Look, you can only listen, so I can only watch it myself. After watching it a few more times, Aisha suddenly remembered something. She sat up straight and looked at the priest. Did the list of meeting and exchanging materials with Angel Civilization come out? Her sacrifice instantly reacted. He quickly took out a screen and handed it to Aisha. I just listed it, but... The sacrificial hesitation for a while, I don't know if it should be said or not. Aisha gave the priest a strange look. Talk. The sacrificial hesitation finally said. But are super batteries and unmanned spacecraft really going to be added? The value of the flagship of the Zaytari civilization is not enough for these two values. Although they are all addicted to Luo Hua. But in the case of civilization, the mind is still more sober, it is not an idiot. The technology of super battery and unmanned spacecraft is very advanced. This is incomparable to the Kitari flagship. So this sacrifice is a bit confused. Do you really want to change this thing out? Although it is not technology, this thing is also very precious. After listening to the sacrificial words, Aisha nodded seriously. Then I thought about it for a long time. Reached out and changed it on the screen again. The priest saw that the high priest had really changed. It seems that she is not addicted to beauty. Very good. 2 seconds later, the high priest returned the screen to the priest. Take a look at the sacrifice. The original No. 1 super battery became No. 2. The original number 2 unmanned spacecraft became No. 3. And the number 1 of at the moment. Serial number 1. Aisha, High Priest of Thor Sub-Civilization. Sacrifice. The sacrifice was stunned. The priest put down the screen. The sacrifice is silly. Sacrifice. ... The picture returns to the Earth's Sky City. At the moment Alan is preparing to go to the universe to trade flight machine with Kayla. Although it is a flight device. But it's actually an island. Remember that the Sky City is apart from the main urban area. Are there any islands that revolve around Tiancheng? Each of these islands has a file size with a radius of 1 kilometer. It was originally placed there and intended to be used for special purposes. But now it's about to go to the universe. Luo Hua can't just sit on a throne and fly over. Therefore, Alan and Kayla are temporarily preparing to turn this island into a negotiating flight machine. It's very simple anyway. Just add the system selection module to the top. And the courtyard of at the moment. Luo Hua was lying on the deck chair in the yard. He rested his head with one hand. He was drinking hot tea in his right hand. And in front of him was also floating a screen of energy projection. At the moment this screen is frantically refreshing countless data. If there are people who understand, then she must be able to see that Luo Hua is building the framework of the spiritual network. Yes, after researching from the knowledge treasure house, Luo Hua started to study the spiritual network non-stop. As for why, to know, now Angel has a powerful attack in addition to the divine body and energy. Currently Angel also uses the integration of magic and technology. And now the dark matter calculation and energy in Angel's body can be replaced by spirit. So if we can study the spiritual network, then Angel's combat strength can rise to another level. Since it can improve Angel's combat power. So Luo Hua immediately went to study the spiritual network without stopping. If you need to be busy, you have to be busy. If you need to rest, you have to rest. This kind of strength improvement that can be obtained immediately. Luo Hua is never ambiguous. But suddenly, Luo Hua's index finger and middle finger came together and clicked at a random spot under his feet. Then he took it back. ... And New York City at the moment. Today is the day when the presidential election begins. Old rules. Who can get the most votes from the state? Then who can be the president of this term? On this important podium in New York, a man who seems to be middle-aged but in his 70s is giving an impassioned speech. We will not compromise with terrorists. And I promise, if I can serve as Mr. President, then I will immediately order at least 15 angel churches to be built in New York. I will never forget the day when aliens invaded New York. If it weren't for Angel, I wouldn't be able to stand in this position to show you my sincerity. And I can guarantee it. As long as I run successfully. Then within a year, I will build at least hundreds of angel churches in all major states across the country. So let those terrorists go to hell. Angel will bless us. Woo 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 oh 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 oh. When he finished his speech, the audience immediately burst into a roar of support and approval. Watching so many people support, that also means that this important area of New York has been won. At the moment the presidential candidate cheered himself up. According to this method of licking Angel, he will be able to sit in that position steadily after a while. It's really great. It's not those terrorists who did this. I still can't show such impassioned and respectful words of Angel. Definitely, he does respect Angel a little too. Because it is not Angel, his grandson, granddaughter, and daughter-in-law may not be there anymore. But just when he cheered up for himself, a certain spot in the crowd suddenly flashed a red light. Boom! A loud explosion suddenly appeared. Then came the explosion, shockwave and flames. A small mushroom cloud even appeared at the scene at the moment. But, just when shockwave was about to sweep the entire scene, a blue wave suddenly passed by. Then at a moment when everyone did not react, the blue wave disappeared in a flash. At the moment there were slices of people lying on the square in Noda. A series of threats such as wars, alien invasions, terrorist attacks, etc. strained their nerves. Now as long as there is danger, they will get down and sincere in their hearts, Angel will protect themselves. Ah! At the moment, those closest to the explosion have begun to scream. Luo Hua's wave just now only prevents a bunch of people from being blown into meat directly. But it is the injury that should be injured. The pain is still pain. Here are all citizens who sincerely believe in Angel. Luo Hua also did not allow terrorist attacks to kill them in such a large number. They are dead. Where does the faith energy come from? Although the belief energy is no longer Luo Hua's main energy after Space Gem. But who would have too much of this stuff? Do you dislike too much money? After the crisis is resolved, people who were close to the blast but not injured suddenly reacted. They knelt down together, then head to Angel Island, which has now been transformed into an angel's prayer place. Right, the original New Jersey island has now been called Angel Island by the citizens. And there are very few people who can enter the land of prayer, because it basically has to go through various screenings by S.H.I.E.L.D. But now bow down to Angel. There must be no problem. Seeing all the citizens who listened to the speech knelt down, the presidential candidate who had just run off the podium immediately ran back. He ran to the red podium. Then it's the same, where there are tens of thousands of people. Under countless people and live broadcast cameras. Kneel down with the citizens. This operation is absolutely amazing. If nothing happens, such a sensible candidate has taken that position firmly. His kneeling is regarded as kneeling where the citizens are satisfied. At the same time, aerospace aircraft carrier Fury exhaled as he watched the candidate kneeling together in the fact relay video. Immediately afterwards, Hill also let out a sigh of relief beside him. They know it when they see it. This president finally has a brain. Can kneel down and worship Angel with the citizens. This has allowed the citizens to support him. Even so sensible in a high position, he should be stable in this election. And finally I don't have to worry about this or that. Come one who is both sensible and obedient. It's simply awesome. The last upper class simply put the United States and S.H.I.E.L.D. to death. If it's not because of Angel, please. S.H.I.E.L.D., including the United States, is dead. ... The screen returns to the city in the sky. Luo Hua is still lying on the recliner drinking hot tea with one hand resting on the back of his head and setting up a mental network frame. What happened in New York just now was just a trivial thing. If this matter should make him care, wouldn't it be annoying after that? After a period of time. Patter, patter. The footsteps of Aelin and Kayla came from outside the courtyard. After entering the courtyard, Aelin and Kayla said, "The floating island's flightcraft transformation has been completed, and you can enter the universe at any time." Luo Hua nodded slightly, then the right hand holding the teacup gestured for the location of the pavilion. "Sit down, you should be able to upgrade to the 3rd generation soon." Here Luo Hua motioned to let himself sit down. So when Aelin and Kayla walked to the pavilion and sat down, they immediately stood up happily. "We are about to master the 3rd generation," Luo Hua ordered the teacup. Then I glanced at Aelin and Kayla. "Don't you feel such a big increase in proficiency? Although the upgrade of the body was brought in an instant. But you really get the proficiency and mastery of ability." Aelin and Kayla looked at each other. I was a little embarrassed and went around the back of my head. Aelin said embarrassedly, "We haven't cared about the upgrade of the body for a long time. I really want to be honest. All their attention is on Luo Hua. So the New York War did not care about the improvement of proficiency." Luo Hua could not laugh or cry. "Maybe this is the reason why you are improving faster, but it is slower because of caring." Then, Luo Hua did not speak and continued to study the mental network. And Aelin and Kayla sat at the pavilion, whispering and eating snacks. At the moment, the environment is elegant and immersive. Everyone is doing their own thing, and the environment is infinitely good for a while. Sudden, Aelin and Kayla lifted their bare hands to their ears at the same time. After a while, they raised their heads and looked at Luo Hua, who was still studying, and said, "The list of the major civilizations in the universe has been transmitted, but there is a civilization. To be honest, if it weren't for this, it's disrespectful." Both Aelin and Kayla wanted to delete the list of civilizations directly. "Oh," Luo Hua shook his right hand non-stop, "I will see if it is transmitted to the public system." "Yes," Aelin and Kayla nodded. "Wait until the list is passed to him." Luo Hua's projection of studying the spiritual network has not been closed. He has projected several other screens directly next to him. But then, Luo Hua looked a little dumbfounded. "Wang, how can anyone regard himself as a list item, and what is written on it as the Queen of Civilization like sovereign?" Know that Luo Hua saw that too. Aelin and Kayla immediately disobeyed. "What do you mean by this civilization? Want to grab our king? Do you want to touch it?" The meaning of sovereign's list is definitely not a straightforward meaning to be able to trade oneself out. The meaning of this civilization is that I have a good view of your king angel. You see if you can develop it more deeply in the later stage. If according to normal civilization, if after in-depth negotiations, I think it's okay. Then it's the situation of marrying 2 civilizations and socializing. But how is it possible? How could angel civilization need Luo Hua to marry? Moreover, I Luo Hua, pata, pata, pata. At this time, Luo Hua is still looking at the list. The footsteps of Hexi, Kesha, and Liangbing came from outside the courtyard. They walked a bit eagerly, and the comparison is also because of this list. Luo Hua just asked Aelin to pass the list to the public system. In other words, they all saw it now, and then they came over in a hurry. Then enter the courtyard. The 3 of them looked at Luo Hua together and wanted to know his reaction to the list. At the moment Luo Hua was a little bit dumbfounded. "Good guys. Add Aelin and Kayla. Now 5 pairs of eyes are staring at me. Wouldn't it be stressful for ordinary people?" Luo Hua smiled and revoked the panel of the spiritual network. Then he shook the corner of the energy list in front of them. "Do you worry about this?" Liangbing came over. She detoured behind Luo Hua, and then even leaned against Luo Hua. And stretched out his hands around Luo Hua's chest and neck. "Wang, how can there be such a deal? This queen obviously has a crush on you. If you want me to see if you don't deal with them, they are greedy for your body." What this said, which one in the room is not greedy for my body? While speaking, Liangbing lowered his head and rubbed Luo Hua's cheek with his cheek. If this is usual, Keisha and Hexi are about to talk about her when they look for it. But at this moment, they just endure it. Luo Hua reached out and pushed away Liangbing's cheeks. "Well, I know all of these, but transactions still need to be traded. Even if you are unsuccessful in the end, at least you have to meet and negotiate. Oh, at the moment, Hexy sighed in his heart. Although they know that most of them may not be married at all. But they got angry when they saw this list. None of us succeeded. Outsiders still come to grab. Hexy walked to Luo Hua's right side and sat down on the recliner. Then he reached out and put Luo Hua's left hand in the palm of his left hand. Finally, cover him with the right hand and hold it in the palms of both hands. Wong, we don't look down on all the technology they have here. And there are no precious minerals, so there is no need to take a look. They are wasting your time. The left hand was held by Hexy in the palm of both hands. Liangbing at the moment also felt her heart. This may not be an important or unimportant thing. It is not necessary and unnecessary things. They may just be unhappy. The main dissatisfaction is that there is a civilized blunt, I like your king. A lot of women in the universe like Luo Hua and they definitely know it. But this is the one who directly uses his own civilization to show his love. So this is where they are dissatisfied. Then, just when Luo Hua was still thinking, Keisha is still hesitation to persuade her if she wants to. But what if you go too far and make Wong angry? When I saw Liangbing and Hexy's eyes coming to help. Keisha also walked over with slender legs. She is sitting on the recliner to the right of Luo Hua. Then he glanced at what Hexy did. She also took Luo Hua's hand and put it in her palm. Good guys. This waits until Luo Hua reacts. It turned out that he was not only hugged to death by Liangbing. Now the left and right hands are in the same group. Are you afraid of running away? Suddenly Luo Hua couldn't laugh or cry. Well, what do you guys always think about? Luo Hua took out his hand and squeezed Liangbing's cheek and pushed her face away. Then he put his hands on Hexy and Kesha's heads and rubbed them. After a while, he took his hand away. Luo Hua waved to Aelin and Kayla who stood in the distance, who were full of envy. Suddenly Aelin and Kayla walked over a little flattered. Luo Hua didn't stand up and raised his hand. The two of them took the initiative to kneel on the ground. Then Luo Hua finally rubbed their heads with both hands. Wait until these angels are all in order. Luo Hua finally lowered her voice and said in a magnetic tone. I, Luo Hua, the king of Angel, I only love Angel all my life, and I will only fight for Angel all my life. So your worries are unnecessary. Foreign women will convert to Angel unless they meet Angel's standards. Otherwise, everything is forgive. I think you are satisfied with my answer. Babes, sweetheart crit. When Luo Hua deliberately said this sentence in his best voice, all Angel's tender skin was immediately red from the inside out. Even Keisha, the most dignified angel, can't stand this series of attacks. Even if it was her, there was a blush on her cheeks now. And the collarbone that can be seen through the dress. You can already see the full-color cherry red. Aelin and Kayla were the first to be a little unbearable. She both stood up. Then he hurriedly saluted Luo Hua and ran away in a panic. Aelin and Kayla left. The remaining three women immediately felt the pressure increased. When Luo Hua looked at Hexy. Because Luo Hua's eyes after absorbing the mind gem were intriguing. Don't look at me. Hexy quickly covered his eyes and face with his hands and wrists and turned around. Luo Hua looked at Liangbing. The arms that Liangbing was holding on to him are now red. And now she buried her head between Luo Hua's neck and refused to come out. Asked about the fragrance of the long black hair. Luo Hua looked at Keisha last. Although at the moment, Kesha's cheeks are also rosy. But anyway, she is also the most dignified and majestic of the three women. But even so, Keisha was also unbearable by Luo Hua's charming eyes. Suddenly she reached out and took a teacup from the side and put it in front of her lips, squeezing it. After covering a little like this, Keisha felt much better right away. But Luo Hua thinks she thinks too much. He smiled softly. Bring Kesha's gaze back. Then Luo Hua held Keisha's wrist in his right hand and suddenly pulled her slowly in front of him. Luo Hua took his left hand. Keisha sat on the recliner and leaned forward to Luo Hua. Then, Luo Hua stretched out his left hand to Keisha. Obviously, Keisha's eyes began to panic, but her white little chin lifted up unknowingly. But what she didn't expect was, Luo Hua did not reach out and pinch her chin. He stretched out his slender fingers directly to hold the neck of Kesha's distinct clavicle. then slowly pulled it in front of me. This one. Kesha's dignified face finally couldn't hold back. Her eyes began to panic, and then she began to dodge. Anyway, he never dared to look at Luo Hua, because Luo Hua's strong posture directly caused her to lose any defense. So she directly became a sheep slaughtered by the king. Finally, when he got close enough and neither Hexi nor Liang Bing looked over, Luo Hua bit her lips. Exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. Keisha's eyes widened suddenly. She quickly looked at Hexi, and then at Liangbing. Finally, slowly close and enjoy this moment. ... After a period of time, Luo Hua loosened the palm of her slender neck. Then he returned to his body nonchalantly. It's just that he wiped the corners of his mouth, like tasting the perfect food. And Kesha, after the separation, she picked up the handkerchief and cleaned it up. Only a few seconds in between. When she threw the handkerchief back to the dark plane, Keisha restored the face of the Heavenly Blade King who was holding the incomparable. It's just that the skin under the dress is flushed. Anyway, Hexi and Liangbing couldn't see it either. After almost, Luo Hua slapped his scared palm. So how long do you have to hide? It will be dark if you drag on it. Hexi and Liang Bing reacted immediately. They turned around a little embarrassedly. Well, in that case, I won't go to negotiate with sovereign civilization. Suddenly, Keisha, Hexi, and Liangbing all looked at Luo Hua. Luo Hua said indifferently, the reason why I don't go is because you are going. Exclamation mark, question mark. Luo Hua at the moment looked at the unmanned spacecraft of sovereign civilization. He also suddenly had an idea. But I will control an armor to take you there, and I don't need to go. Since we have no shortage of sovereign civilization, we will arrange to meet for the last time. After hearing Luo Hua's arrangement, immediately they all agreed happily. It's me. What Luo Hua just said about manipulating the armor is literal. He was inspired by piloting a spaceship just now. Since sovereign civilization can remotely control the spacecraft, so why can't you create an armor that can control your actions if you don't wear it? Isn't this strictly more convenient than unmanned spacecraft? One can be worn in battle. It can be controlled remotely during leisure time. Isn't an armor that can be used at will when you're fine, isn't it a great idea? When the time comes, use this armor to take them to see sovereign civilization. And he now has Asgard Ulu metal left over from the last destroyer. To know, this Ulu metal is the same as Thor's Mjolnir metal. This is already a very high-level metal. But this is not enough. There is still a list of many civilizations. Please help me pay attention to rare metals. I am going to build a different armor. Hear what Luo Hua said. They all scanned together. Hexi watched it over and over again and joked, I don't know when I can find Ansu Yin. With this thing, Wang's combat power will soar to an unimaginable level. Just think about it, Liang Bing said. Relentlessly, the number of Ansu silver mines is fixed in the universe. But I guess no one now knows how the dark silver mine is refined into dark silver. Liang Bing's last words. Kesha and Hexi agreed. Luo Hua asked them to scan for themselves for a reason. After all, some civilizations have obtained extremely rare metals. But they don't know how to use it at all. Some even treat these metals as worthless things. So on the material exchange list, they even rank this metal to the bottom. And the introduction is a mess. Some don't even know how to explain. More explanations are wrong. The three daughters at the moment are scanning the list of other civilizations. And Luo Hua, he first came up with a list that he thought was the most important. That is, the void, the collector's list. Well known. Collector's stuff will be very good. So strictly speaking, Luo Hua is quite interested in what he wants to exchange. But, ability weird servant, mentally abnormal animals. Eat plants that become stronger for a short time. There are also eggs of unknown animals. What are these? It's all messed up. If you don't cherish the scan, you don't know what the explanation above means. Luo Hua keeps flipping, keep flipping. There are all weird things in the middle. Anyway, there are very few things in the universe, so collector collects them. On the contrary, there are many things in the universe, it may not be precious collector. Sudden, Luo Hua's sliding finger paused. Why? Because he saw a cloud of silver minerals. In the blink of an eye, you thought it was a lot of money. But as long as deep analysis you find, there is actually a mysterious pattern in the silver depth of this group of minerals. This made Luo Hua curious. Because such a pattern cannot be acquired. It must be innate. But why does it form such a pattern? Thinking, Luo Hua suddenly had an inspiration. He has a sense of sight that he has nowhere to look for through his iron shoes. Why? Because it looks like a dark silver mine. What is dark silver? It is the sharpest and hardest batch of metals in the known universe in Luo Hua's impression. Can be sharper and harder than dark silver. There are not many in Luo Hua's impression. And Su Yin is the kind without any bells and whistles. I have a sharp and hard sense of sight. It is different from the powerful void marshal in the later period. The former is simple and rude. The latter is violent and dazzling. Luo Hua clicked his finger to the void, and then sent a copy to each angel. Diaresis, take a look, is this dark silver? Quote, what? Liang Bing said in surprise for the first time. She was just lying on Luo Hua's shoulder and that was a joke. It's really hard to come by. Even Hexi was surprised by this. Stumped and said casually, did you really find an Su Yin? Look at the information sent by Luo Hua. There are only a few pictures and 3 text explanations on the information sent by the collector. A special metal that can't be processed, and all processes can't melt it. Closing curly bracket. Even if it is placed in the Perseverance forging furnace, even the dwarf clan can't use it. Closing curly bracket. It doesn't seem to be a metal that can be explained by normal methods, because flame and temperature seem to have no effect on it. I don't know if magic is useful for it. Closing curly bracket. Explanation of these 3 sentences. It directly gave them the affirmation in their hearts. This is the explanation. 90 out of 9 is in dark silver mine. Why? Because the treatment of Ansu silver mine is just like what Liangbing said. It needs a particularly unique processing method to forge. What is the treatment method? Parse. Just like the graphics card mining Bitcoin requires calculations. Ansu silver mine needs to be resolved before it can be built. If it is not resolved, no one can use it except the black hole. And magic, if there is a similar analysis magic, it should be fine, but the efficiency is touching. It may take thousands of years. It's really dark, Liang Bing said in surprise. Hexi also looked at the photos with joy. Even the corners of Keisha's mouth evoked a gratifying smile. This thing is really rare. Let alone the fixed number, there are reasons why it has to be parsed first. Therefore, it is extremely difficult to find the large-scale search of the scan test. But the universe is so big, how can you find it without a large-scale scan? It is possible that you have searched for countless years, and when you look back, it's under your feet, good guy. Keisha at the moment has a serious face. He said without the attitude of giving and asking. Wang, I suggest getting the Ansu silver mine first, this is too important. I agree too. Liang Bing raised his right hand cutely. Hexi looked at Luo Hua and nodded seriously. Since everyone thinks so. Luo Hua means to get it first. Although Ansu silver mine is not equal to infinite gems. But it is also very precious. And most importantly, strictly speaking, the Ansu silver mine is harder to find than the 6 largest infinite gems. For Luo Hua, he knew where the 6 gems were. But he didn't know Ansu silver mine. So Luo Hua directly arranged in the dark communication channel. Alan, Kayla, you inform the collector of Nothing Lands to let him wait for me outside the galaxy tomorrow. Yes, X2, after the time is agreed. Kesha, Hexi, and Liang Bing continued to flip through the list, and there was nothing else left. Luo Hua then flipped through the remaining list of collector. There is nothing worth exchanging. But to be honest, the Kitari flagship is just one of the titles. Angel definitely has higher value things to exchange. Such as energy. With Space Gem Self, the energy is endless. It can be said that Luo Hua first came to Space Gem all the way. Otherwise, he can't be restricted by ordinary people's faith energy for a lifetime, right? Wouldn't a god-making civilization be restricted by mortals to die of laughter? Close all lists. What Luo Hua wants at the moment is only Ansu silver mine. At this time, New York's national network signal was blocked again. Then Mandarin's face appeared on the TV channel. He at the moment sat in the house. Kneeling in front of him was a middle-aged and old man in a suit and shoes. This person still wears a hood. Mandarin stepped forward and took off the headgear. It turned out that that person was the presidential candidate who spoke in New York that day. After losing the president, the FBI's presidential protection ability is much worse. In addition, Killian's physical fitness is good. So it's really okay to want to kidnap candidates. I think you all know this person. That's right, he was the one who gave you a big lie that day. I want to let you know that everyone who fights Mandarin will die. Even if he is a believer in Angel. The candidate knelt on the ground and struggled. His mouth was covered with cloth, so he could not speak. Mandarin pulled the cloth out. The candidate immediately said loudly, "I am not a lie. Without Angel, my wife, grandson, and granddaughter would be gone. It's you, the devil who tells lies. I will never bow to terrorists. Listen to Mandarin." He took the pistol and pointed it at the candidate's head. "Then say goodbye." At the same time, Luo Hua sat on the recliner in the Sky City and watched the terrorist attack speech. Well, I forgot to let Alan handle him. Some helpless. He had something else that day. So just limit the explosion and forget it. But strictly speaking, it seems that the presidential candidate has passed the review. Alan, Kayla, get rid of all the goals regarding this incident. Closing curly bracket. Yes, X2. The screen returns to Mandarin. The United States TV or the internet is broadcasting the scene there. When asked him to point the gun at the candidate just stared at Mandarin. These citizens are also worried. Is he really going to be killed? Sudden Kang came from the live broadcast. Scream. During the live broadcast, Mandarin was instantly pierced into the ground by a silver sword. And that clang, it was the sound of the long sword stuck on the ground. Immediately afterwards, there were a few more clues in the live broadcast. The sound of. Compared to those people, it is the same result. And in a certain building, an experimental base in the United States. The same dozens of long swords nailed some people to the ground instantly. There are also some squares in New York. Some people were suddenly inserted and nailed to death in the square. But that long sword can be seen at a glance as Angel's long sword. So everyone did not panic. Instead, someone came over curiously. But the next second, the long swords inserted into the ground all over the world disappeared again. This is actually what Alan and Kayla brought back. And those long swords nailed in. They all flew to the suborbital space by shaking their wings and throwing them manually. With their power and calculation ability, the global batters can nail where they want. After completing the task, Alan and Kayla flew back to the city of Angel. Wong, all those involved in the incident have been wiped out. Closing curly bracket. Well, go to rest, and go to the universe tomorrow. Closing curly bracket. Yes, closing curly bracket. The screen returns to the courtyard. In just a few minutes, Mandarin and Killian's series of terrorist plans behind him were all eliminated. I don't know what they think. It's hard to see how Angel cleared the Kitari civilization in New York. Just want to rely on conspiracy. What do you want? Go dreaming. Don't care about the shock of the humans on the ground. Luo Hua stretched out his hand to untie the cold ice arm still wrapped around her body and said, "Well, you also go back to rest, and you will go to the universe tomorrow." Keisha, Liangbing and Hexi nodded. Then go back obediently. Roar. After watching them go, Luo Hua let out a breath slowly. Then he lay on the recliner with his hands behind his head. Looking at the fading sunset above my head, he pursed the corner of his mouth with the tip of his tongue slightly. Do not say the other. Kesha's taste is still good. She is like a dignified and majestic queen. But when you disrupt her heart or posture, you can always get a strange sense of blockiness. This may be an alternative beauty. Through contrast, Kesha is more graceful and luxurious in daily life. The more Luo Hua wants to see her coughing. Okay, let's not talk about it. Let's see it for yourself next time. Pull out the right hand resting behind his head. Luo Hua planned to project a screen in front of her eyes. Then he moved his fingers slightly. The screen immediately continued to flash countless dense data. Yes, it's the spiritual network. It's just that this will be done soon. It can be completed in a few days at most. Time slowly came to the evening. The city in the sky also slowly transformed into a city full of fluorescence. At the moment in the attic near the palace of the king, One room turned off the lights and curtains early. Lying on the big bed in the bedroom on the second floor. At the moment there was a warm light in the bedroom. The large balcony was also hidden by the curtain. Keisha was covering herself with the dress Luo Hua personally gave them at the time. This body has been covered to the position close to the chin. It is equivalent to wrapping yourself up. Lying on the bed righteously. She looked at the roof almost still. I don't know what she is thinking. After a long time, Keisha withdrew her right hand from the dress covering her body. Then he touched the lower lip bitten by Luo Hua. I think it's aftertaste. But after a while, her jade hand slowly moved down. Then put it on his neck. Imitate Luo Hua's gesture of holding his neck. Keisha also thought that this hand was Luo Hua's. Then think about his aggressive eyes at the time. Keisha curled up again a little unbearable. Tucked sideways on the bed. At the moment she was still holding the clothes Luo Hua gave him in her arms. Close your eyes slowly. But when Keisha closed her eyes, she was full of Luo Hua's aggressive posture. This made her open her eyes again in an instant. What to do? Keisha murmured, turned over and continued to lie on the bed. She supported her forehead with her right hand. Because I think too much. The temperature of her body is a bit too high now. Once again in a daze for a long time. There is really no way that Keisha directly covered her entire face with the dress Luo Hua gave her. But don't say anything. Keisha felt better immediately. The feeling of being in the state for a while and not having it for a while made my heart plop too much. And this kind of direct cover is indeed much better. More than a long time passed. Keisha finally fell asleep with her face covered in her dress. And next, the lights of Liangbing and Hexie's attic also disappeared soon after. The next day, in the city of the sky. A floating island slowly broke away from the orbit of the sky city. At the moment, Luo Hua walked on the avenue that also leads to the palace of the king on the floating island. He walked in the forefront. All angels followed him. Walked all the way to the palace of the king. The buildings here are almost the same as the sky city. The palace of kings is similar. And the throne is also a flight machine. Enter the palace of the king. Luo Hua waved his hand. Then a blue barrier appeared on the periphery of the floating island of file size for several kilometers. For comfort, Luo Hua first filled the floating island with air circulation and gravity simulation. Then he continued to tap his finger at the Kitarui flagship under the sky city. After a while, Luo Hua leaned lazily on the throne, and leaned her legs on either side at will. Then I looked at the angels at my feet. The space jump is about to begin. Although it won't feel anything, you can experience this kind of long-distance teleport. Finished. Slap. After the sound, the floating island where Luo Hua was located gradually began to spread a burst of blue energy. After a while, until the blue energy spreads, this floating island suddenly disappeared from the earth silently. No, it's the solar system. At the moment the outskirts of the chaotic land. Collector has already prepared a large flight vehicle waiting outside the galaxy. When I thought I was about to see the legendary angel, he couldn't wait to take off his black sunglasses and turned around the chair. After a while, her maid suddenly said in surprise, "Master, look, there is an island floating over there." Collector took a halt. He immediately walked into the glass cabin of the large flight vehicle and looked out. Then he was shocked, because that is really an island slowly drifting over. Although it seems to be floating. But that speed is absolutely incredibly fast. Look around. Collector only saw a blue energy barrier on the glorious island. This technology is much more powerful than the energy network of the New Star Empire, okay. And this is an island. Looking at Angel's floating island getting closer and closer. Collector commanded the maid excitedly. Quickly, quickly, release the fireworks I mentioned before. Quickly let them see. Hear the excited shout of Collector. His maid immediately ran to the console area of the flight machine and took a button. Thump, thump, thump. Immediately afterwards, several huge amounts of launchers were opened above the flight, which was constantly spraying gunpowder. These gunpowder is a characteristic of firework. At the moment floating in the island, Luo Hua watched the blockbuster firework exploded in the distance. There was a trace of helplessness in my heart. There is also a collector who lives in the void every day. Now who is celebrating with firework. Suddenly the angels under his feet covered their lips and laughed. Luo Hua waved his hand helplessly. Alan, Kayla, bring it here. Yes. Alan and Kayla put on masks. Then he walked out of the hall and prepared to bring Collector over. Then Keisha said to Luo Hua, Wang, then let's go down first. Luo Hua nodded, and Keisha took Hexi and Liangbing down. According to what they said that day, they just want to be with Wang. So there is no need to meet with Collector at all. I don't want to meet other men, even with a mask. If you have to make it clear. That is, they think that everything they own is king. Unless it is necessary. Otherwise, there is no interest in other men or things. Wait until they are gone. Luo Hua snapped his fingers. Immediately afterwards, in the flight area of Collector, a blue portal suddenly opened between him and the maid. Her maid was taken aback. But Collector realized that this was something from Angel. However, the sudden appearance of the portal really surprised him again. A portal that can be opened anytime, anywhere and accurately positioned. Do you know what this concept is? If in war, what should I do if a bomb with an explosion range of 1000 space ranges flies out of it? The unit of space here is distance. Anyway, the distance of a unit can be quite a lot. Subsequently, Collector changed his mood, lifted his foot and stepped in. His maid looked at it. Also followed in. Teleport directly to the floor at the edge of the floating island. Collector wore a mink coat and looked at the surroundings. First of all, brilliance is affirmative. He has not seen any species in the universe with such a brilliant architecture. Wow! At this time, his maid also shouted out in surprise. It was the first time in her life that she saw such a splendid building. Today she is quite knowledgeable. After Alan and Kayla saw the two, they turned their masked bodies and walked away. Follow me to see the king. Collector sees the real Angel. He quickly followed. After a while, arrive at the main hall. Alan and Kyla waved their hands and dropped 2 chairs from the dark plane to the gate of the main hall directly in front of Luo Hua. Then they saluted Luo Hua and left. As for why the 2 chairs only went to the door of the main hall. But last time the ancient one chair was in the center of the hall. That's because it is divided by strength. What Angel fancy is strength. No matter how powerful you are, your eyesight in Angel is only average. Because as long as you are not good, then no matter how powerful you are, Angel can easily locate and kill you. Is this power still useful? Definitely useless. At the moment, Collector is built on an ordinary chair. He raised his head and looked up at Luo Hua in the distance. I saw Angel for the first time. Luo Hua laughed. Then I see you for the first time. Collector saw such a majestic Luo Hua. What he wanted to say at the beginning is now forgotten. And I can't remember it at all. He hesitated for a long time and didn't know what to say. Luo Hua also didn't bother to chat with a man for a long time. So Luo Hua just flicked his fingers. A screen composed of energy appeared directly in front of Collector. Luo Hua said directly, I want this metal from your list. You can take as much as you want. The flagship under the floating island can be taken directly, and you can talk about it if it is not enough. Enough. Collector nodded sharply and agreed. Don't look at what Luo Hua said just now. But why don't you have the strength to talk to me? The reason for the flagship exchange is that Angel has good quality. At least I won't kill you. But in the case of huge amounts of power gap. The meaning of Luo Hua's words just now is to use other means instead of changing it. The other means must be forehead. Anyway, the final result is definitely to get metal. Without exception. See Collector on the road like this. Luo Hua nodded, then moved his 5 fingers on the system a few times. Well, the Zaytari battleship will be followed by space-time forces in your flight zone for 1 day. 1 day is enough for him to handle it. If this can't be handled, why is he the leader of the void? Then it's over. To be honest, this is the only thing to do. But, Collector hesitation suggested, the person who sold me this metal also said that she knows more of this metal mine, but she can't bring it back. Luo Hua stared at the Collector again, and at the same time a powerful aura pressed down on both of them. He understands. Collector also has an implication. But you can't say, what do you want, first? Because then I will become passive. This is a taboo. Suddenly, Collector's maid was overwhelmed by Luo Hua's aura. Even Collector felt his heart tightening. Luo Hua looked at them like this. And didn't say a word. After a while, Collector finally couldn't help but let go. I just want a souvenir that proves to be all of Angel. As long as a souvenir, I will say who she is. And I won't sell or exchange this souvenir. I will collect it. Correct. That's right. After all, Collector wants an item that can prove to be Angel's possession. What he thought was just now. Can you get more things through this condition? But now he only wants this one. Collector is also dispensable for Kitarui flagship or something. At most, it means earning points. But compared to getting a souvenir that proved to be Angel, none of the above matters. Hear the real answer from Collector. Luo Hua laughed. What else is it? That's it. Luo Hua waved one hand. A feather shining with crystal white light slowly fell from in front of Collector. Collector immediately raised his hands and held them carefully. Luo Hua smiled. As long as it is not destroyed by violence, it can be saved enough that no one in the world has seen it. Is that enough? Now Collector can't even speak. He was afraid that his feathers would float away in one breath. So he hurriedly nodded like a chicken pecking at rice. Then carefully protect the feathers. After a while, he reacted and looked at Luo Hua and said, "It's Nebula, a woman of Thanos. You can go back now." Collector hasn't finished talking yet. Luo Hua interrupted his introduction. He knew who it was because he heard the word Nebula. Same as the green-skinned Gamora in Guardians of Galaxy. She is one of Thanos' daughters. But, because I couldn't beat Gamora since I was young. Therefore, if Nebula does not lose once, it will be demolished and transformed into a machine. For so many years, Nebula has never won once. So most of her body has been transformed into machinery. After watching Collector go, Luo Hua leaned on the throne. The fingers tapped and tapped on the armrest gently and rhythmically. This is because he is thinking. How did Nebula find this metal? First of all, she must not know what metal it is. But she must have traded this metal. Otherwise, Collector won't say that it was Nebula. And, she should also know that this kind of metal is weird. That's why I brought it to the Collector to exchange something. At this time, Aylin and Kayla walked in from outside the hall. They took off their masks and looked at Luo Hua and said, "Wong, all the Ansu silver mines have been captured, and you can go home." Luo Hua nodded. Slap, with a snap of his fingers. The floating island was again wrapped in a burst of blue energy. Then it disappeared silently. After a while, the solar system, the Earth, castle in the sky, a floating island appeared around the city in the sky. Then it flew directly into the orbits of several other floating islands. Forgot to say, there are 7 floating islands in Sky City. And the gaps between them are the same and they revolve around the center of the Sky City at the same time. So Luo Hua drove out just now as one. But it's back now. Slap. Luo Hua snapped his fingers and caused all the people on the floating island to teleport into the courtyard. Sitting in the pavilion, Luo Hua looked at Aylin and Kayla and ordered, "I'll give you an address. Go and see what the state of time and space is there. Remember, don't go in before the time is running out. There is time and space that will be transmitted immediately. Speak harder. Maybe more than just will be sent immediately. Because the time and space are chaotic, it will directly tear the creatures in the time and space. This kind of tearing of the 2nd generation angel's body can't hold it. Only the 3rd generation can afford it." Aylin and Kayla looked at each other. Nodded. Yes, Luo Hua transmits the address to them. They saluted, and then left quickly. After seeing Aylin and Kayla go, Liang Bing looked at Luo Hua and asked curiously, "Who is Nebula?" They definitely heard the conversation in the hall just now. Ansu silver is so precious, it is so lucky to be able to know the mine. So next, as long as you can find Nebula and ask clearly, then there will be a lot of dark silver metal in the future. Nebula is also a woman with a darker life. I'll upload a series of materials about her and Thanos for you to see. After talking, Luo Hua packed the data in his memory and threw it into the public system. Then they began to check. "I don't know." After reading all these materials, Liangbing said angrily, "That purple sweet potato essence. He is transforming carbon-based creatures into machinery. In Angel's worldview, life is beautiful, life is valuable, and life should be enjoyed. But Thanos used the way of raising GU to transform creatures through duels. This method has wiped out humanity. So even Luo Hua. He wasn't too satisfied when he thought about Nebula. Because Thanos does not have humanity. But he also believes that he has the so-called fairness. Hexy and Keisha, after watching these events, they also frowned and didn't like it. Do you think Angel will feel that life is not good enough, and then switch to machinery? How can it be? But after analysis, Hexy looked at Luo Hua and guessed, Wong, if Nebula really knows the Ansu silver mine. That high probability was accidentally discovered by her when she went to war in major civilizations. Definitely there is a chance that she only found out this time. In other words, she just remembered the location she found, but she didn't find more dark silver. As long as Thanos is fine, then Nebula will go to major civilizations to find things to do. So the universe where the Nebula is wandering is also very impressive. It's normal to be lucky enough to meet Ansu Yin. But the rest will have to be known after seeing Nebula. Because after seeing Nebula, Angel's insight can analyze where she met. However, the amount of calculation is too large. If you want any angel to scan, you need the help of Luo Hua host. And the mental or spiritual network also needs to be researched immediately. This is useful for finding Nebula. After deciding, Luo Hua nodded. When Aelin and Kayla come back, and the spiritual network is created, I will ask them to find Nebula together. The women nodded in agreement with this statement. Then, Hexy used energy to project the dark silver metal he exchanged this time before everyone. The dark silver metal that was exchanged this time is said to be too big. But small is not small. According to this weight, I suggest that in addition to the armor made by the king, 4 silver wings should be added. Everyone looked at the weight of the dark silver metal. It is a piece of oval metal. So file size is almost a normal door for a family. It is an ellipse with a length of a little more than 2 meters and a width of about 1 meter. These metals are refined and then used to create words. Luo Hua's armor needs to be used up half, and the Ulu metal needs to be used up. Then the remaining 4 silver wings will be used up and the rest is usually almost just right. If it can come out more. At most, it is just 1 or 2 more daggers. As a result, Hexy's proposal was approved by Keisha and Liangbing. But Luo Hua picked up the teacup and took a sip. Although 4 silver wings will increase my combat power a lot, don't forget. There is basically no need for me to play on the battlefield now, and the next generation of angel will also appear. So instead of preparing 4 silver wings for me, it's better to make only 2. Then the remaining materials are all used as growth swords as a weapon arsenal. Such an increase in overall strength is the most effective for our current situation. One says one. Angel Civilization has invested almost all of its resources on Luo Hua. Space gem, mind gem, all energy, mainframe computing, knowledge treasure house, etc. Although this is for sure. But for things like Silver Wing, Luo Hua temporarily has 2 things that are already terrifying for the improvement of combat power. Therefore, dividing the remaining 2 silver wings into several long swords is absolutely reasonable and effective. Compared to those big treasures mentioned above. And Suyin is actually a few grades lower than that. So it's best to spread out a little bit. Hear Luo Hua's decision. Keisha, Liang Bing, and Hexy looked at each other. Liang Bing shrugged helplessly, indicating that there was no way. The moment they got the good stuff, all they thought was how to invest all of them in Wong. So I didn't think of myself at all. But Luo Hua made this decision, and it is also reasonable. They definitely can only agree. Hexy nodded. Well, I'll deal with and analyze these dark silver, and it won't be long before I can get the weapon. But the king's armor, I'll do this myself. Luo Hua had already prepared. After you finish the analysis, send half of the dark silver to me. Hexy nodded. Okay, just now this is because there are many small details and settings on the armor that I have to deal with. A set of own armor. You need to adjust yourself in terms of proficiency, comfort, matching, practicality, function, and many other small details. This kind of thing is not mass-produced. So it's best to build it yourself. Then, time is slowly approaching night. And Kesha and the others have also gone back. So Luo Hua lay on the deck chair in the courtyard and watched the maple red sunset in the sky with the evening breeze blowing slowly. At this time, The delighted voices of Aelin and Kayla resounded in the dark communication channel. King, we have found a chaotic space-time point near the coordinates. Closing curly bracket. Oh, closing curly bracket. Luo Hua sat up. Wait for me where I was. Closing curly bracket. Finished. Slap. Luo Hua snapped his fingers. The more amazing thing is that Luo Hua in the same place did not move. He is still studying the spiritual network. But a figure composed of blue energy appeared beside Aelin. This is Luo Hua, but this is just a projection of energy. After seeing Luo Hua, Aelin and Kayla saluted Luo Hua for energy. Then Luo Hua looked around in a circle. It seems that this is a remote suburb, so it is difficult to see a person from a long distance. Aelin scanned it with the eye of insight. Wong, this unfinished building was abandoned for planning reasons decades ago. Luo Hua nodded. Detailed coordinates. Aelin and Kayla nodded. Then he waved his hand and gathered up the model of the unfinished building that had already been scanned. Then, at a certain location on the 6th floor, they marked a star there. Obviously this is the location of the time and space anomaly. Slap. Luo Hua snapped his fingers again. The three of them arrived at the spiral staircase on the 6th floor in an instant. It is now obvious. This building only managed to cover the frame, but almost finished the rough wall. Aelin gathered a cloud of energy with his hand, and then threw it towards a certain clearing. Right here, at the moment when the energy reaches that open space. That group of energy was torn out in an instant. Luo Hua, see here, just stepped forward and walked over. Then he stretched his arm in without hesitation. Boom, it sounded like a blast. Luo Hua's arm projected with energy was torn out in an instant. Wong, retract your hands. Then Luo Hua in the Sky City casually replenished his arm again. But he really laughed angrily. This is an energy projection, what are you worried about? Aelin and Kayla looked at each other. They can't help it. The arms that saw Luo Hua's energy just now disappeared instantly. They shouted out like instinct. Luo Hua waved his hand. Okay, go back, now that you know the location, that's fine. Now this time and space is still in chaos, and we need to wait for a while to stabilize. Aelin looked at it and asked curiously, why is there chaotic time and space here? That's because this is a space-time tunnel leading to the reality gem. Luo Hua explained. Infinite gems. X2, Aelin and Kayla said in surprise. They already know how powerful the space gem's effect is on the king. For example, the current treasure house of knowledge, as well as various teleports, and so on. Add to that the mental network that Wong said will be researched soon. It can be said that every infinite gem's angel wants to get it and offer Luo Hua. This is the last gem you can get on Earth. But it's useless for you to be in a hurry now. I'll be an illusion and you can go back. After speaking, Luo Hua's energy projection disappeared instantly. Aelin and Kayla also nodded. Then he walked out of the unfinished building and the wings disappeared with a flutter. This time city in the sky. Sit on a deck chair in the courtyard. Luo Hua pulled out a hand and kept pressing it several times in the air. Then Aelin and the others had just walked out of the unfinished building, and a circular blue energy barrier was created in an instant. Immediately after that, the unfinished building disappeared from the sight of normal people. That's right, Luo Hua used time and space to hide it. This is to prevent someone from accidentally breaking into this place. Then Luo Hua took a quick look at Aelin and Kayla's system. Angel Aelin, Kayla, can be loaded with the 3rd generation angel's body. Okay, at the moment they are still on their way back. Luo Hua loaded it directly. For Angel Aelin and Kayla to load the 3rd generation angel's body. Loading complete. At the moment, they were flying fast. Alan and Kayla suddenly felt their bodies strengthened a lot. Moreover, the originally fast flight suddenly increased to the extreme flight. The speed was still visible to the naked eye just now disappeared into the sky in the blink of an eye. The acceleration at this moment almost made them think that Luo Hua increased their body. But apparently after a while they checked their system and they reacted. The 3rd generation angel's body. After a few days, Luo Hua lay in the sun in her courtyard. Why is there no research? Because of the combination of work and rest. Well, he actually finished the study yesterday. And Hexi also said that Ansuyin will be analyzed today. At that time, the metals and weapons that have been analyzed will be brought together. So Luo Hua is ready to realize these together today. Really, with the pattering sound coming from outside. When I heard it, I knew it was Kesha and the others. Enter the courtyard. Hexi first delivered the remaining dark silver to Luo Hua through time and space. After receiving the remaining dark silver, Hexi then handed over all the secret weapon authority to Luo Hua. Luo Hua must have the authority for this kind of thing. Even if they hold it, that also belongs to Luo Hua. After the transfer of authority, Luo Hua wiped his hand in the air. A long sword of bright silver and justice was held in his hand. Use the treasure house of knowledge to calculate various utilities. After a while, obviously, it can be seen that this is already the pinnacle of cold weapons. Definitely, this eliminates those magic weapons and future void class weapons. But the magic weapon encounters the dark silver long sword. Almost 100% will be cut off by the dark silver weapon. Unless it is an artifact like Mjolnir or Eternal Gun. Otherwise, the dark silver weapon is almost invincible. And even after equipped with Ansu silver weapons, flame cutting and flame bombing can still be used. Because the above two kinds of attacks Kesha are attacks developed by magic, spirit, and energy. Weapons are just a channel of release. This is different from the Sword of Flames. So now Ansu silver is also available, and the framework of the spiritual network is also set up. Luo Hua looked at the girls. The armor and spiritual network of dark silver plus Ulu metal, which one do you want to see first? All of a sudden everyone started to think. Keisha and Hexi both pinched their chins to think about which one they want to see first. After a while, looking at the daughters who were still hesitation, Luo Hua reluctantly said, in this way, you use the energy to gather what you want to see in your hands, and then vote to decide. Hear what Luo Hua said. After thinking about it, they took what they wanted to see in their hands. After seeing that everyone is ready, Luo Hua motioned to open it. As a result, 3 slender palms opened. They all voted to see the dark silver armor. Luo Hua thought about it and knew why. Because compared to the dark silver armor, the spiritual network may be a bit more interesting. That's why the spiritual and spiritual network must be looked at last. Alright, that being the case, Luo Hua raised his left hand and moved his 5 fingers. Then a cloud of black metal floated out of the dark plane. This is Ulu metal. He is raising his right hand. The same ball of bright silver metal floated from the dark plane and suspended in the sky. Luo Hua crossed his hands in the middle. The 2 lumps of metal fused together. At the same time his mind was immersed. Integrate metal. Create battle armor according to all settings and data. Output energy. Start to build. For an instant, the 2 balls of metal floating in the sky in reality are wrapped in a phantom film. Immediately in their eyes, the 2 balls of metal began to rush towards an absolute center point frantically. In fact, this is shaping. By creating a singularity in the center. This notice gravity began to forge these metals to make them integrate. I do not know how long it has been. The metal in the phantom film suddenly stopped surging. Then slowly began to spread and climb up like vines. But if you look closely, they are moving towards a battle armor model and begin to cover. After a while, when all the metal has spread, and after the illusory film of the system was withdrawn, a complete set of armor appeared in front of everyone. Wow! Liang Bing looked at the silver main body, and the armor outlined by the golden lines said aloud in surprise. But everyone also noticed a little difference. He has no legs, no waist. Hey, this is different from what I thought. Liang Bing looked at this armor and circled. Although it looks like a battle armor. But this armor is obviously not worn. Who's under the armor originally didn't have a defense. And it can be clearly seen now. The interior and exterior of this suit are not for wearing. If I have to describe it, how do I feel more like a weapon? Liang Bing pinched his chin with his bare hands and asked in doubt. It really is. Faced with the same puzzled eyes of Hexi and Keisha, Luo Hua smiled and said, actually, I changed a little setting. First of all, I don't need to wear armor or battle armor at all. Because through the promotion of the divine body, the battle armor and armor are a burden. So I changed my mind and made these metals an alternative weapon. This is the alternative weapon. This battle armor was not originally released. But the upper body is all entities. And it also holds a sword in its hand. The style of this sword is different from that of Hexi. The former is more like mass production. The latter is a king's sword. Wang, you mean, this is a remotely controlled weapon? Hexi saw this and understood. Because of time and space and remote control. So this suit doesn't need 2 legs. It's all flying anyway. Luo Hua nodded, but then he looked at them and said, you can guess what new ability it has. I guess I can go to her attic to chat privately for a night. It has 2 new abilities, which means there are 2 opportunities. Exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. For an instant, all Angel's eyes widened. Then I immediately thought about it. Cool Bing had a glimpse of life. She looked at the solid metal inside the armor body and immediately thought of something. She immediately guessed, bigger. Oh, Luo Hua saw what Liang Bing did just now. Yes, I observed very carefully, this is indeed one of them. Liang Bing laughed happily. She was the first to look up from below to see that the battle armor was solid. So after her analysis and understanding of Wang, since it is a battle armor, then it must be an entity inside. But since it is an entity, what reason and use are there? She had an inspiration just now. In a blink of an eye, huge words appeared in her mind and blurted out. The result is right. Next, Hexi seemed to have thought of something. She looked sideways at Keisha, who seemed to have thought of something in the same way. But, Keisha gestured to Hexi first with the mistress's aura. Hexi looked at Keisha, who was a bit motherly, and immediately turned his head to Luo Hua without hesitation and said, I guess there is a high probability of space-time strike ability. When this sentence is said, Hexi's tone was full of confidence and belief. Originally, she wanted to discuss things with Keisha. I didn't expect Kesha to be so confident. Then she is welcome. Hear what Hexi said. Luo Hua smiled and said, congratulations, you got the right answer. Yeah, Hexi's surface was calm, but in his heart he was happy with Roar. She glanced at Kesha beside her. In the dark communication channel, he joked, man, you have nothing now. Keisha's face remained unchanged in reality. But the dark communication channel counterattacked. Old fairy, I'm afraid you won't have a king to accompany you at home and cry. Closing curly bracket. Finished. Keisha seemed to remember something, raising her hand and touching her lower lip. Now when she thinks about it, she feels there is still a touch. All right, slap. Luo Hua slapped his palms. Since you all guessed it, let me show its ability. Talking. Luo Hua's index and middle fingers of both hands merged and stretched out to manipulate. Then, the suspended armor in the sky suddenly increased from 1 meter to 10 meters. That is the file size of 4 floors. Wow. Liang Bing looked at the sudden huge armor and shocked Roar. To know, this is a bust with a height of 10 meters. This is not the whole body, this is the half body. The half body will look bigger. And the great sword of dark silver and ulu metal integrate it holds in its hand is not small. This is no smaller than his own body. Because it stands to reason. The length of the sword is definitely greater than the half of the body above the waist. Then Liang Bing, Keisha, Hexi and the others turned their attention to the half body. Strictly speaking, there is no gender division in this set of busts. Because the appearance shows the reason of the layer of armor, so you can think of its gender. In addition, it is outlined in silver and golden lines as a whole. This looks majestic and majestic. Your attention is not in this area at all. If your opponent is it. What you are thinking about now is how to live. Hexi looked at War Armor and suggested. Wang, I think its name or Roar should be called Big Angel, the Sword of Big Angel. Because seeing it is like seeing you in charge of reality. Hexi's proposal was approved by Liang Bing and Keisha. Luo Hua nodded. Okay, just call it Big Angel. This call Roar is indeed very suitable. Next, Kesha was more curious about the next ability asked. Wang, what is the next space-time attack ability? Faced with this problem of Kesha, Luo Hua smiled confidently. If you have to name it, it can be called Space-Time Trial. Keisha thought for a while under the name. Attack through time and space ultra-long-range strikes. Almost, but still one sentence short. Luo Hua stroked his left hand. 2 huge silver wings appeared behind Big Angel. Then Luo Hua moved his fingers again. Big Angel flew slowly to an altitude of tens of thousands of meters. Luo Hua finally mobilized energy. Then his left hand squeezed tightly. Big Angel also started to raise the big sword with Luo Hua's palm. At the same time, the horrible golden and blue energy began to gather on that 10-meter-long sword. As the energy accumulates, the more the coercion radiating from that long sword is getting stronger and stronger. If ordinary people pass by, they may be directly wiped out by this coercion. Then an energy converging screen opened in front of the three women. The content on the screen is exactly around the solar system. At the moment, because of perseverance, a huge meteorite flew into the solar system. At this time, on the path of the meteorite, a golden blue space-time crack opened. Then, the big angel on the earth flicked fiercely. At that time, a huge sword with a file size of hundreds of meters suddenly appeared in the gap of the solar system and slashed fiercely. Boom! The universe is silent. But the meteorite was directly split in half and flew out. Luo Hua's hand in the Sky City. When Big Angel returned to him, it also shrank to 1 meter file size. Then he retracted his arm. The Big Angel also disappeared into reality and put it into the dark plane to be preserved at the same time. Stunned for a few seconds, Liang Bing immediately reacted and said, "So handsome." Luo Hua almost laughed out of Liang Bing's delayed reaction. "Do you have a network card?" Luo Hua waved his hand and led the three women to the deck chair on the lawn to lie down. There was originally only Luo Hua a recliner here. But after seeing it, Liang Bing immediately created another one and placed it here. As a result, Hexi and Kesha saw them and both created one. In the end, this lawn became a circle with 4 deck chairs surrounding the city. Then there is a small table in the middle of every 2 recliners. There is also a large table in the middle for other things. The 4 lay lazily. At this, it is actually related to the technology that Luo Hua wants to create. If you lie down for a while, you will be able to experience the power of the new ability immediately. Finished. Luo Hua was immersed in the system. Spiritual network, or spiritual network, this is the magical power that brings the entire civilized soul together. Closing curly bracket. When encountering attacks of spirit, soul, etc., the opponent will face the existence of a whole civilization. Closing curly bracket. And in all aspects, the mind network has more help. Closing curly bracket. Such as astral projection, mental impulse, mental chaos, soul annihilation, etc. Ability. Closing curly bracket. Ding. Angel civilization technology set successfully. StarNet. If Angel's soul is compared to the shining stars in the universe, then the power of the entire civilization is like a galaxy like StarNet. It has enhanced the strength of every angel's spirit, heart, and soul to the limit. And also link each angel's heart together. Even if it is death, we will never be divided. At the moment when the creation is completed, every angel feels an extraordinary feeling in his heart. Even if you close your eyes, you can feel the presence of the blazing soul in every angel's heart. At the same time, every angel also feels that his heart has been sublimated. This is a magical experience. As if he had no body. Immediately afterwards, in the star network world that belongs exclusively to Angel. It also exists in the real world. An illusory figure flew out of Luo Hua's body. That's right, this is the emergence of consciousness. That is, astral projection. At this level, Luo Hua can see that the consciousness of Liangbing, Keisha, and Hexi are lying in their bodies. And their actual bodies are closing their eyes. Sudden. In the case that neither Kesha nor Liang Bing woke up. Hexi's consciousness suddenly moved those long eyelashes. Then she slowly opened those azure blue eyes. She sat up from her body. Then you see Liangbing on the left and Keisha on the opposite side. And finally saw Luo Hua. This is our consciousness. Luo Hua looked at Hexi and explained. Hexi looked at his hands. She stretched out 2 index fingers to check if they could touch each other. But Luo Hua walked forward directly when she saw it, and then squeezed her cheek. Hexi, who was pinched to his cheek, finally reacted. She suddenly rubbed and curiously said, "Wang, why can our consciousness touch?" It depends on the willingness of both parties and the intensity of consciousness. Luo Hua sat down on a recliner with Hexi. Hexi gave way to Luo Hua a little bit. Then Luo Hua went on to explain. If you don't want me to touch you, then we won't touch you if I don't care. But there is one more condition, if my consciousness intensity is very strong. In that case, Even if you don't want to be touched by me, it won't help, unless you withdraw the astral projection. In other words, the meaning of both parties is only based on peace. If one party is unwilling, then the scene will immediately proceed to the level of competition awareness. Hexy reached out and picked up Luo Hua's palm when he heard it. Then he squeezed, and put him on his lap to feel it. Seeing Hexy was curious to get here, Luo Hua grabbed Hexy's left hand. Then her right hand pinched her chin and turned her head slowly. The difference with Kesha is, Hexy's eyes were embarrassing and eager to try. And Liangbing and Keisha are still adapting. So, when Luo Hua bit her at once, Hexy's waist fell softly. As time goes by, at the moment in the real world, obviously it was an extremely quiet scene, but Hexy's face lying on the recliner became more and more radiant. And her long, slender, icy jade-like legs were also unconsciously gathered together. After a long time, in the world of consciousness, until Liangbing made a dream, Luo Hua let go of the hands that pressed Hexy's ears. He looked at each other with Roar's anger. Her eyes, which seemed to be full of lake water, turned to follow the master's turn. Do not know why. When Hexy is shy, Luo Hua looks into her eyes. Luo Hua has already discovered this. Get up and return to his place to stand. Luo Hua waited for Liangbing and Keisha to wake up. After a while, when the boss sat up physically with Kesha, they also saw Hexy, who wiped the corners of his mouth and sat up again. She wiped the corners of her mouth to prevent them from seeing the sparkling water. Definitely, they didn't know that Hexy was sitting up again. But Keisha was a little puzzled. Wake up from the state of consciousness, why wipe the corners of your mouth? She suddenly thought of what she was like last time. But Hexy also said that he got up at the same time. Papa, Luo Hua clapped her hands. Then she told them again about the consciousness world she explained to Hexy just now. The three women stood up. They looked at the body still lying in the real world. Liangbing asked curiously, Diaresis, after the consciousness is gathered, can the main body not move? Quote, it's not. Luo Hua denied. If your consciousness is strong, the body and consciousness can be manipulated together. But at least the fourth generation angel's body is needed. And you need to have specialized skills. Luo Hua can now also control the body at the same time. But that is because I am the host and have mind gem. Under normal circumstances, it is difficult to control multi-body thinking with one mind. Multitasking computing problems and multi-controlling duplication are two different things. The gap between this is too big. The girls nodded. Then they tried other abilities. But Luo Hua directly meant to return. Then he got up from his chair and said, your current astral projection is only one of the abilities of the star network. It is mainly the enhancement of spirit, soul, and soul. For example, you now encounter creatures with relatively ordinary spirits. As long as they are slightly shocked, they will faint, and in severe cases, they may dissipate directly. But in fact, Xingwang also has an ability. It can guarantee that all angels will consume energy to save their consciousness after logging on to the star network. Even if there is no physical body, consciousness can continue to live through this mode. This can be regarded as a method of soul preservation. Luo Hua couldn't let his angel die easily. If he really died, he would definitely resurrect them. This is not to say that you don't cherish life. This is his guarantee as the opponent of the king. Then, Hexy, Liangbing and Keisha also withdrew from the state of spirit projection. And they are also a little tired. Because it is the first time to log into Xingwang, Xingwang will extract a bit of their spirit as the login device for account password. So it's normal for them to do this. Luo Hua looked at their state. Well, I'll be here today, you all go back to rest and rest. In a few days, it will be time for us to welcome the new generation. The three women's eyes lit up. With the new generation, it will be much more fun. Bullying, Mengxin, isn't that a very interesting thing? They nodded. Then he bowed to Luo Hua and walked. But when they walked to the door, Hexy glanced at Luo Hua sideways and blinked those bright blue eyes. At the moment's dark communication channel. Wang, you just rewarded the overnight chat, do you want to just today? I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.